Stop everything, my beloved child. Everything, yes. Remember to listen to me with all your heart, because what I'm about to say has weight that your soul has been wanting for a long time. The title of this message is, I have been keeping this in, however, no longer anymore, because you've hidden truths, buried wounds, and lost your strengths. And I'm not going to let you go another second without hearing what has been prepared to be said over your life. Pay attention to what you're doing right now, because what you're about to experience will awaken, reset, and heal you in ways you can't afford to miss. This is something I want you to hear with all your heart. Things that were not yours to lift were being carried by you. Every step you've taken under that weight has been watched by me. You name it, taking responsibility, being strong, and being the one in charge. But I call it a burden because it's slowly breaking the softness I found inside you. The expectations of other people are making you act as if they were rules written in stone. And you've carried your own failures around with you like they were permanent marks on your soul. You feel the pressure to be okay, the pressure to keep everyone together, and the pressure to never fall apart. You hide everything inside so no one can see it. I see, though. I saw you lying there awake, staring into the darkness, and thinking over talks, decisions, mistakes, and what-ifs as if your thoughts could change the beyond. I've seen how you smile to make people feel calm. You tell yourself to just push through, to keep going, and not make a big deal out of it, even if something inside you seems to be slowly breaking. However, I want you to know that how you feel is very important to me. The heart I made for you was carefully made. I know exactly what hurts it and what makes it better. I've seen you bring the bad things that happened yesterday into the present day and pile them on top of each other like unseen rocks. And you think you learned that's exactly what lives are. Heavy, constant, and unchangeable. But I didn't make you live hunched over loads that should be in my hands. Not yours anymore. It wasn't meant for you to be the hero of everyone around you. You've already been saved. It's not always you either. It's very far away. Your soul tires in ways you can't describe when you hold what is mine. For this reason, sometimes you feel worn out even after sleeping and stressed, even when nothing has changed. That's not because you are weak. This is because you're protecting something bigger than a human heart, something that was meant to be protected on its own. Watching you, I've seen that you carry sadness, pain, questions without answers, and fears about the future that you never tell everyone about, and I haven't seemed to go away yet. In every doorway where you stopped to gather yourself, I was there. In every bathroom where you quickly dried your tears before going back to your day. Every time you were in the car and your chest felt tight, you didn't know why. I have noted every sigh and moment when you whispered, "I'm good," even though something inside you was saying, "I'm not." I have seen you. I have acknowledged it all. And I'm speaking now because I can and will not let you keep calling this normal. You were meant to live differently. With your spirit light and your joy bright. You were meant to walk with me. Not as a soldier grinding through endless battles by myself, but as a loved toddler who knows they can give me something at any time and be accepted. I witnessed you carrying a burden you weren't intended to bear. And as we progress, I plan to gradually remove it from your possession, if you grant me permission. Please listen to me carefully. The energy you show the world has never fooled me, not even for a second. You wear it like armor, protecting your shoulders firmly and your voice constantly. But I see right through every practiced breath and every forced smile you have ever given. You have to get so used to hiding your pain that you don't even realize you're doing it anymore. You just tuck it at the back of your ribs and keep going as if endurance is the only language you can speak. But, my love, I saw the tears you swallowed before they touched your face. I've seen you walk into a room and act like everything was fine, even though your heart felt like it was squeezing with love. I've heard the words you didn't say because you didn't want to burden everyone. And I heard the silent pain behind your laughter when all you wanted was a moment to breathe without pretending. You saw that because other people don't see your shaking. I don't see it either, but I always have. I see how you carry the weight of expectations. You've convinced yourself that showing your weaknesses means losing the ability to manipulate others. But I'm telling you that you've lost a lot more by hiding your wounds than you could have by letting them be seen. You don't know how many times you've broken your own heart just to keep life going for other people. You comfort others even when no one comforts you, and you reassure others even when worry wraps itself around your own mind. And I know you tell yourself that's just life, and that being strong is the best thing to do. But that's not what I wrote about you. The truth is that I never asked you to hide your pain to keep up appearances. I never asked you to put on strength like a mask. I never asked you to act like you were killed so the world wouldn't be afraid. What I asked, and what I still ask, is for you to show me your pain. Not because I don't know it, but because you want the freedom of not having to hide it on your own. For every tear you swallowed, I held it. Because I saw every tear, I'm now speaking in a way that you won't forget. You shouldn't hide anymore. Not from me. Pay close attention, because what I'm about to say has been waiting in my heart for a long time. Longer than you realize. I've held those words with purpose, with endurance, and with tenderness. You didn't get it because I knew they had to come when your heart could grasp them. I've been watching you run from one thing to the next. Surviving is better than dwelling, and doing is better than feeling. I knew that if I spoke too soon, you'd listen to me with your thoughts, but not with your soul. So I waited now, not out of silence, not because of distance, but out of love. Here and now. I've been waiting for this moment when you're drained, open, and hungry enough to hear me, without brushing off my voice as just another passing thought. You don't know how many times my whispers have touched your thoughts, and then disappeared before you could let them settle. You don't know how many times I've dropped peace into your spirit, only for you to drown it out with work, noise, or worry. Thus, I've been holding on to this message, letting it grow fuller, deeper, and stronger until it can reach you the way I always thought it would. This isn't just a record for you, it's a transformation. That's not me talking, that's me reaching. You've asked for answers, clarity, and a way, but you weren't always ready for what I had to say. The truth has a way of confronting, healing, and reshaping. I've been patiently awaiting the moment when your heart could no longer reject my words. For a while now, I've been holding these words in because I wanted to talk to the part of you that isn't blocked by walls, fear, or the need to look strong. I wanted to talk to the child inside you who still wants to be held, understood, and seen. And now I can feel your heart softening, your guard lowering, and your spirit leaning in, even if it's just slightly. That's all I want. Just a little R. Just enough space for my voice to cut through the noise. I've been holding this emotion in until now because transformation takes time. And your heart is finally ready to hear the words before I start to lose you. Let me tell you something gently but surely. You call me silent, but you rarely stopped long enough to listen to the sound of my voice. You mistake my persistence for absence, my stillness for distance, and my silence for indifference. But that's not who I am to you. I've been talking to you in moments you ignored, nudges you ignored, peace you walked past, and symptoms you ignored because they didn't match your expectations. I've whispered to you in the softest ways, knowing that if I slammed every message into your life, you would respond out of fear instead of love. But your life has been so fast paced and your thoughts have been so heavy. You thought I was silent, far away, or not answering your prayers because of all the other things that were trying to get your attention. But the truth is that I was ready, not because I didn't want to talk, but because I wanted you to hear. Wheelie right here. Listen with your spirit, not your panic. Listen with your heart, not your exhaustion. You pray for a course but rush past the solution. That's why I'm drawing you into a holy pause, a sacred stillness where my voice can reach you again. You ask for comfort, but numb yourself before I can get close to you. You seek signs of the extraordinary while overlooking me and the simple, quiet things I do for you every day. You think you learned silence as absence, but it's often an invitation to slow down, breathe, relax, and eventually loosen up parts of you that have been in survival mode for too long. I never stopped talking. You just stopped being still. No longer am I yelling at you, I'm inviting you. I'm not upset, I'm moved. I'm not quiet, I'm here. My voice has been woven into every moment of sudden peace that you felt. Every time your heart felt pushed to change paths. Every time you felt a reality you couldn't explain. I haven't been quiet. I've been waiting for someone to slowly slow down enough to understand that I'm closer than every breath you're taking. Now that your coronary heart is sooner or later quiet enough, I can talk more freely, and you could listen to me more fully. No longer through the noise of life, but through the stillness you have avoided for far too long. There may be something you want to understand right now. Every whispered prayer you conceived vanished into the air and has been echoing in my presence without fading, without losing strength, without being neglected, and without being brushed off. You communicate your prayers with trembling, some hurried phrases whilst driving, a quiet plea earlier than falling asleep, and a sigh you failed to even realize turned into a prayer, and then life rushes back in, and you forget about what you stated. However, I don't. I've gathered each whisper you released whilst your electricity was skinny. I've captured each determined help that escaped your lips while you thought no one was listening. I've held on to every request you buried underneath doubt, because you had been afraid you had been asking for an excessive amount of them. Now you don't know how much your prayers mean to me. You don't remember that even the smallest words have eternal weight in my presence. Normal ears might forget what sounds weak, hesitant, or fragile, but I'm not human. I hear the prayers that are too quiet to say out loud. I hear the words you make up from your thoughts. I hear the longing underneath the sentence you couldn't finish. And even though you forget what you prayed for sometimes, I still remember it. I let those prayers beat in my heart until the answers perfectly match the timing, the shaping, and the future I'm planning for you. You've asked me things when you were tired that you thought were too emotional, too unstable, or too raw. But I value those prayers the most because they came from the depths of who you are, not from the fake persona you tried to present to the world. There are things you asked me years ago that you don't think about now, but I'm still putting the pieces together because I won't give up on what your soul has been pleading for. I remember the broken prayers, the hopeful prayers, the stressed prayers, the nighttime prayers, and the God please, just please prayers. And I hold each of you as sacred. Some of the blessings coming your way are connected to prayers you forgot you prayed, and some of the healing rising inside you is connected to pains you asked me to ease when you didn't know what recovery felt like. The quietest, most fragile prayers you've ever brought to my attention may have made some of the doors I'm about to open possible. You forget about it, but I never do. You move on, but I keep working. You let go, but I stay delighted. Your prayers are alive before me, breathing with the rhythm of my love for you. As you move forward, you will see answers to things you don't even know. Don't hesitate to inquire, for my love has never overlooked anything that comes from your heart. The truth is, the energy you've been clinging to has gradually transformed into exhaustion, and you've been too preoccupied with survival to notice. You've told yourself, I just need to be strong, as if energy were your only identity, your best trait, and your easiest fee. You've persuaded yourself that fatigue signifies a vulnerability, leading you to persist, intensify your efforts, and defy your soul's pleas for you to gradually slow down. However, I have observed, and I am determined that you should no longer cling to that method of maintaining strength. You must proceed independently. You have had help available, but you didn't want to be a burden. You learned along the way that needing help makes you much less, and you've lived under that lie for so long that it seems like the truth. See you later. But listen, I never meant for you to be self-sufficient. I never meant for you to carry every responsibility, every expectation, every heartbreak, and every disappointment with clenched teeth and a quiet spirit. You keep working, showing up, fixing, organizing, and keeping everything going. But on the inside, you're worn out in ways that relaxation alone can't heal. It's not that you don't have energy, it's that you've chosen the wrong kind of isolation for resilience. You think that because you remain strong, you don't need comfort. But persistence without companionship turns into vacancy. Electricity without rest will become depleted. Obligation without help becomes suffocation. And I'm no longer willing to help you drown in that quiet exhaustion. I've seen your shoulders strain for years. I've seen how your breath shortens under stress. I see you wake up every day saying you have to keep going, that no one will understand, and that you have no choice. But I made you for connection, for help, for shared burdens, for communion with me. This is not a life in which you endure silently, fearing a gradual collapse into despair. You saw your exhaustion, which you thought was normal, but it's not. It's a far sign that I put inside you, so that you could turn your lower back to me, before your spirit collapses. I'm not asking you to be weak. I'm asking you to avoid complicated isolation with strength. Real power isn't doing everything by myself. It's letting me into the areas you've been trying to control by yourself for too long. You can't do it alone, and I can't help you keep believing, which is something you need to take very seriously. The words I'm speaking to you now aren't casual, random, or unintentional. They come from the deepest parts of my heart for you, which is why I waited to say them. They carry weight, a tenderness, and a reality that needed the right time, the right softness in your spirit, and the right setting in your heart. I haven't been talking because I didn't have anything to say. I wanted my words to come at a time when you would understand how important they were instead of brushing them aside with doubt, fear, or distraction. I wanted you to understand that what I'm talking about now isn't just instruction, but affection. Not an Aryan affection, but intimate love. You have wondered if my silence meant I was sad, as if I were holding back because you weren't positive enough. But that wasn't the truth. My silence wasn't a punishment. It becomes safe. I defended these words until you were ready to feel their depth without pushing them away. I used to protect your heart so my voice could heal instead of crush. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm telling you something I've always wanted to tell you. The love I have for you is much deeper than any love you've experienced from humans. That's because humans love in a way that isn't perfect, consistent, or conditional. But I don't. I love that you stay strong even when your feelings change. My love is steady even when you doubt yourself. My love is present even when you feel unfit. The words I'm giving you now aren't just empty comforts. They may be foundations. They may be the truths I've been shaping you for. You are entering a time when my voice will become clearer, not because I suddenly chose to talk, but because your heart has become open enough to hear me without filtering my voice through old wounds. What I talk about these days is being drenched in love, filled with compassion, and overflowing with patience. I waited to speak so that when I did, you would know for sure that every word comes from a place so deep, so purposeful, and so rooted in who I made you to be that you can't mistake my voice for anything other than love. And now that I've started, I can keep going because you are ready and my heart has much more to share with yours. Let me immediately address the part of you that has endured years of exhaustion. People praised your energy, but I saw it draining your life. You took on roles, expectations, emotional hundreds, and invisible duties because you thought that's what responsible people do. You thought it made you noble, reliable, and worthy. But what you thought was duty, I saw as a weight that was slowly suffocating your spirit. You weren't meant to carry everything you've been carrying. This is why it often feels as though you are constantly ascending a hill, even on days when everything appears to be fine. And here's the truth you've been avoiding. Not every burden you carry is yours. Not every battle you fight is yours to win. Not every problem you carry is yours to solve. You've taken on emotional responsibility for people who didn't ask you to repair their lives, but you felt like you had to carry their fears, hopes, expectations, and broken parts. You thought, if I don't pick the pieces up, everything will fall apart. And you assured yourself that this was adulthood. But adulthood isn't defined by how much you give. It's defined by knowing what's yours and what's mine. You've given too much because you thought it was the best way to be precise, the best way to be loved, the best way to keep the peace, and the best way to save yourself from chaos. But I don't see you as the savior of others. You've been walking around thinking that if you rest, you'll disappoint someone. If you stop helping, someone could become hurt. And if you say no, someone will think less of you. But listen to me, I never asked you to sacrifice your health to keep the world going. You call it loyalty, but I call it selflessness. You call it consistency, but I call it bondage. You call it love, but I call it a misunderstanding of what love really is. Real duty doesn't weigh you down, it makes you stronger. Real duty brings clarity, not confusion. My beloved, you're tired because you're holding on to things I'm ready to take away from you. I'm not asking you to be responsible. I'm asking you to be in line with me, with reality, with the life I planned for you. Stop wearing everything and start wearing what's closest to your fingertips. You weren't meant to break under the weight of expectations. You were meant to breathe under the weight of my grace. Let me lift the veil for a moment so you can see what you've been blind to. You've been fighting battles that no one, not even those closest to you, wants to see. And you thought you were fighting them alone. But I've been standing next to you, protecting you, strengthening you, and stepping in ways you didn't even realize. Your invisible battles aren't invisible to me. I've seen the intellectual storms that raged behind your calm face. I've seen the anxiety that rose up inside you without warning. I've seen the weight you couldn't explain. I've seen the worry that hits you in quiet times. I've seen the confusion that followed you even during peaceful times. I saw you fight against memories that suddenly came back to you, doubts that told you lies, and inner darkness that tried to convince you that you were losing. You fought against temptations, insecurities, loneliness, and intrusive thoughts. You fought against discouragement, unhappiness, and despair. You thought you were alone in your struggle because no one else understood you. But I did. I saw every shadow that tried to swallow the light in you. I saw every non-secular weight pushing towards your soul. I saw every inner conflict that left you emotionally bruised. And I stepped into the war quietly, faithfully, and powerfully. You didn't see me, but you felt moments of unexpected energy. Where panic used to linger, you suddenly felt calm, even though you didn't hear me. Without knowing me, you made it through nights you thought would destroy you. That wasn't a coincidence. I fought for you, defended you, interceded for you, and pushed back the darkness that tried to weigh you down. You may think you're weak, because the war is still going on, but the truth is that you are stronger, because you haven't fought a single moment of it on your own. The invisible battles didn't consume you, because I stood guard over your soul. I was your guard long before you even knew chance was getting close to you. I was your safe haven when your thoughts turned into a battlefield. I was your anchor when your feelings tried to pull you down. And I'm telling you now, the war is changing. The stress you've been under isn't a sign that you're losing. It's a sign that the enemy is afraid of what's being born inside of you. I fought beside you, and I can keep preventing till the warfare that once terrified you becomes the very testimony that strengthens others. Allow me to tell you something with absolute clarity. No longer has a second of your battle ever been long gone or omitted with the aid of me. You've lived as though you were unseen, preventing via pain as if no one changed into watching, pushing through heartbreak as if nobody cared, enduring storms as though they had been yours to address by myself. However, I have been responsive to every element, each emotion, every pain, and each burden. I have seen it every time you compelled yourself to be robust, when you had been breaking inside. I am visible whenever you lie in the mattress, exhausted, replaying your screw-ups as if they defined your real worth. I have seen it every time you held back tears in public, waiting until you were by yourself to fall apart. I've witnessed the long nights while you felt forgotten, the mornings when you could barely get off the bed, the afternoons while your chest felt heavy for motives you could not provide an explanation for. You thought I wasn't paying attention, but I was watching with a love so steady, so fierce, so constant that if you fully understood it, it would destroy you in the best way possible. You think your conflict isn't important because no one sees it, but I know every part of it. I've seen you choose kindness even when you were hurting. I have observed you support others even when no one was present to support you. I've seen you keep going even when everything inside you wanted to give up. I've seen you fight battles no one else knows you're fighting. And because I've seen it all, I can't let you believe the lie that you are invisible. You are seen more deeply, more completely, and in more detail than you've ever imagined. I see the strength you don't provide yourself credit for. I see your quiet courage and the strength that rises in you when life hits. I see the beauty in you that the world doesn't see and the intensity that you tried to hide. I see your war, yes, but I also see your growth. I see your pain, yes, but I also see your ability. I see your tears, yes, but I also see your transformation. I'm looking at you with eyes of compassion, not judgment, and with eyes of purpose, not disappointment. And because I see everything, nothing you're going through will be wasted. You told yourself that time would heal what hurt you, but it only buried the pain under your responsibilities. You told yourself that distraction would break the cycle, but it turned into another cycle that never gave you peace. You told yourself that you could get over the hurts by being strong, successful, or emotionally independent, but strength without comfort hardened your heart. You've tried to talk yourself into peace, purpose yourself out of worry, and push yourself past the times your soul needed to pause. But recovery has never really happened because you tried to do something harder. Recovery happens when you let yourself be held, which is exactly what you've been avoiding without even realizing it. You've been going through life like someone trying to fix cracks in a dam with their bare fingers. Every time one closes, Another one opens. You realized you were failing at recovery, but the truth is that self-restoration was never meant to be the whole story. You suggest presence, a deep, affected person, a gentle presence. Additionally, in this creative and devotional space, where my voice is clearly a metaphor for romance, reality, and non-secular comfort, I'm telling you that the peace you sought isn't always found in numbing, escaping, accomplishing, or suppressing. It comes from letting yourself be prone, in a space where you are safe, where you are understood without having to explain it, where you are received without having to perform, and where you are loved without conditions. You've been healing incrementally, in between your responsibilities, but your heart is worn out because it hasn't been healed completely, not deeply. This healing has not occurred from the inside out. You've tried everything but authentic stillness. Stop everything, my beloved child. Everything, yes. Listen to me with all your heart, for what I say is what your soul has longed for. The title of this message is, I have been keeping this in, however, not anymore, because you've hidden truths, buried wounds, and forgotten your strengths. I'm determined not to let another moment pass without revealing the words destined for your life. Pay attention to what you're doing right now, because what you're about to experience will awaken, realign, and heal you in ways you can't afford to miss. This message is something I want you to hear with all your heart. You were carrying things that were not yours to lift. I have watched every step you've taken under that weight. You name it: taking responsibility, being strong, and being the one in charge. However, I refer to it as a burden, because it gradually erodes the tenderness I have discovered within you. The expectations of other people are making you act as if they were commandments written in stone. And you've carried your disappointments around with you like they were permanent marks on your soul. You feel the pressure to be okay, to keep everyone together, and to never fall apart. You hide everything inside so no one can see it. I see, though. I saw you lying there awake, staring into the darkness, and thinking over conversations, decisions, mistakes, and what-ifs as if your thoughts could change the beyond. I've seen how you smile to make people feel calm. You tell yourself to keep going, even if something inside you seems to be quietly breaking. However, I want you to know that how you feel is crucial to me. The heart I made for you was carefully made. I know exactly what hurts it and what improves it. I've seen you bring the terrible things that happened yesterday into the present day and pile them on top of each other like invisible rocks. And you think you learned that's precisely what lifestyles are. Your lifestyle is heavy, constant, and unchanging. But I didn't make you live hunched over loads that should be in my hands. Not yours anymore. It wasn't meant for you to be the hero of everyone around you. You've already been saved. It's not always you either. It's very far away. Your soul tires in ways you can't describe when you hold what is mine. For this reason, sometimes you feel worn out even after sleeping, and stressed even when nothing has changed. That's not because you are weak. You're protecting something bigger than a human heart, something that was meant to be protected alone. Watching you, I've noticed that you carry grief, pain, questions without answers, and fears about the future that you never tell everyone about. And I haven't seemed to go away yet. In every hallway where you stopped to gather yourself, I was there. In every bathroom where you quickly dried your tears before going back to your day. Every time you were in the car and your chest felt tight, you didn't know why. I have noted every sigh and moment when you whispered, "I'm good," even though something inside you was saying, "I'm not." I have seen you. I have acknowledged it all. And I'm speaking now because I can, and will not let you keep calling this normal. You were meant to live differently, with your spirit light and your joy bright. You were meant to walk with me, not as a soldier grinding through endless battles by myself, but as a loved toddler who knows they can give me something at any time and be accepted. I witnessed you carrying a burden you weren't intended to bear, and as we progress, I plan to gradually remove it from your possession, if you grant me permission. Please listen to me carefully. The energy you show the world has never fooled me, not even for a second. You wear it like armor, protecting your shoulders firmly and your voice constantly. But I see right through every practiced breath and every forced smile you have ever given. You must become so accustomed to concealing your pain that you no longer even recognize it. You simply tuck it away behind your ribs and continue as if perseverance is your sole language. But, my love, I saw the tears you swallowed before they touched your face. I have observed you enter a room and behave as if everything was perfectly fine, despite the fact that love was constricting within your heart. I have heard the words you didn't say, because you didn't want to burden everyone, and I perceived the unspoken anguish beneath your laughter, when all you desired was a moment to breathe freely, without pretense. You watched that because other people don't see your shaking. I don't see it either, but I always have. I see how you carry the weight of expectations. How did you become the only one who gets up when you're breaking down inside? You've convinced yourself that showing your weaknesses means losing control. But I'm telling you that concealing your wounds has cost you far more than exposing them. You are unaware of the numerous times you have shattered your own heart to ensure the continuation of life for others. You comfort others even when no one comforts you. You reassure others even when your mind is full of worry. I know you think being strong is the best thing to do, but that's not what I wrote about you. The truth is, I never asked you to conceal your pain in order to maintain appearances. I never asked you to put on strength like a mask. I never asked you to act like you were killed so the world wouldn't be afraid. What I asked, and what I still ask, is for you to show me your pain. This is not because I am unaware of your pain, but rather because you desire the freedom to no longer conceal it from yourself. For every tear you swallowed, I held it, because I saw every tear. I'm now speaking in a way that you won't forget. You shouldn't hide anymore. You should no longer hide from me. Pay close attention, because what I'm about to say has been waiting in my heart for a long time. Longer than you realize. I've held those words with purpose, with endurance, and with tenderness. You didn't get it, because I knew they had to come when your heart could grasp them. I've been watching you run from one thing to the next. Surviving is better than dwelling, and doing is better than feeling. I knew that if I spoke too soon, you'd listen to me with your thoughts, but not with your soul. So I waited now, not out of silence, not because of distance, but out of love. Here and now, I've been waiting for this moment when you're drained open and hungry enough to hear me, without brushing off my voice as just another passing thought. You are unaware of how many times my whispers have reached your thoughts only to vanish before you could allow them to take root. You don't know how many times I've dropped peace into your spirit only for you to drown it out with work, noise, or worry. Thus, I've been holding on to this message, letting it grow fuller, deeper, and stronger, until it can reach you the way I always thought it would. This isn't just a record for you, it's a transformation. That's not me talking, that's me reaching. You've asked for answers, clarity, and a way, but you weren't always ready for what I had to say. The truth has a way of confronting, healing, and reshaping. I've been patiently awaiting the moment when your heart could no longer reject my words. For a while now, I've been holding these words in because I wanted to talk to the part of you that isn't blocked by walls, fear, or the need to look strong. I wanted to talk to the child inside you who still wants to be held, understood, and seen. And now, I can feel your heart softening, your guard lowering, and your spirit leaning in, even if it's just slightly. That's all I want. Just a little R. Just enough space for my voice to cut through the noise. I've been holding this emotion in, until now, because transformation takes time. And your heart is finally ready to hear the words, before I start to lose you. Let me tell you something gently but surely. You call me silent, but you rarely stopped long enough to listen to the sound of my voice. You mistake my persistence for absence, my stillness for distance, and my silence for indifference. But that's not who I am to you. I've been talking to you in moments you ignored, nudges you ignored, peace you walked past, and symptoms you ignored because they didn't match your expectations. I've gently spoken to you, understanding that if I forcefully conveyed every message, you would react with fear rather than love. But your busy life and heavy thoughts have drowned out my whispers. So you thought I was quiet, that I was far away, and that I wasn't answering your prayers. But the truth is that I was ready. It wasn't a lack of desire to communicate, but rather a desire for you to hear. Stop right here. Listen with your spirit, not your panic. Listen with your heart, not your exhaustion. You pray for a course, but you rush past the solution. That's why I'm drawing you into a holy pause, a sacred stillness where my voice can reach you again. You ask for comfort, but numb yourself before I can get close to you. You seek signs of the extraordinary, while overlooking me and the simple, quiet things I do for you every day. You think you learned silence as absence, but it's often an invitation to slow down, breathe, relax, and eventually loosen up parts of you that have been in survival mode for too long. I never stopped talking. You just stopped being still. No longer am I yelling at you, I'm inviting you. I'm not upset, I'm moved. I'm not quiet, I'm here. My voice has been woven into every moment of sudden peace that you felt. Every time your heart felt pushed to change paths, every time you experienced a reality that defied explanation, I was there. I haven't been quiet. I've been waiting for someone to slow down enough to realize that I am closer to you than every breath you take. When your heart is finally at a normal level of quiet, I can talk more freely, and you can listen to me better. Not through the noise of everyday life, but through the stillness you have avoided for too long. You may want to understand something right now. Every whispered prayer you thought of has been resonating in my presence without dying out, losing its power, being ignored, or being put aside. You say prayers while shaking, rushing while driving, in a quiet voice before going to sleep, or with a sigh that you didn't even realize turned into a prayer. Then life becomes in the way, and you forget what you said. But I don't. I've collected every whisper you let out when your energy was low. I've recorded every determined plea you let out when you thought no one was listening. I've held on to every request you hid beneath doubt because you were afraid you were asking for too many things. You do not realize now how deeply your prayers affect me. You do not now remember that your smallest words carry eternal weight in my presence. Human ears would possibly forget about what sounds faint, hesitant, or fragile. However, I'm no longer human. I hear the prayers, which can be too quiet to voice. I listen to the simplest words you form in your thoughts. I hear the longing beneath the sentence you couldn't finish. And while you once in a while overlook what you prayed for, I permit those prayers to beat towards my heart until their answers align perfectly with the timing, the shaping, and the future I am getting ready for you. You've asked me things in moments of exhaustion that you assumed were too emotional, too unsteady, too raw, and yet I treasure those prayers the most because they came from the depths of who you are. This is not the polished image you attempted to present to the world. There are things you asked me for years in the past that you do not think about. But I'm still putting the pieces together, because I won't give up on what your soul has been pleading for. I remember the broken prayers, the hopeful prayers, the stressed prayers, the nighttime prayers, and the God please, just please prayers. And I hold each of you as sacred. Some of the blessings coming your way are connected to prayers you forgot you prayed, and some of the healing rising inside you is connected to pains you asked me to ease when you didn't know what recovery felt like. The quietest, most fragile prayers you've ever brought to my attention may have made some of the doors I'm about to open possible. You forget about it, but I never do. You move on, but I keep working. You let go, but I stay delighted. Your prayers are alive before me, breathing with the rhythm of my love for you. As you move forward, you will see answers to things you don't even know. Don't hesitate to inquire, for my love has never overlooked anything that comes from your heart. The truth is, the energy you've been clinging to has gradually transformed into exhaustion, and you've been too preoccupied with survival to notice. You've told yourself, I just need to be strong, as if energy were your only identity, your best trait, and your easiest fee. You've persuaded yourself that fatigue signifies a vulnerability, leading you to persist, intensify your efforts, and defy your soul's pleas for you to gradually slow down. However, I have observed, and I am determined that you should no longer cling to that method of maintaining strength. You must proceed independently. You have had help available, but you didn't want to be a burden. You learned along the way that needing help makes you much less, and you've lived under that lie for so long that it seems like the truth. See you later. But listen, I never meant for you to be self-sufficient. I never meant for you to carry every responsibility, every expectation, every heartbreak, and every disappointment with clenched teeth and a quiet spirit. You keep working, showing up, fixing, organizing, and keeping everything going. But on the inside, you're worn out in ways that relaxation alone can't heal. It's not that you don't have energy, it's that you've chosen the wrong kind of isolation for resilience. You think that because you remain strong, you don't need comfort. But persistence without companionship turns into vacancy. Electricity without rest will become depleted. Obligation without help becomes suffocation, and I'm no longer willing to help you drown in that quiet exhaustion. I've seen your shoulders strain for years. I've seen how your breath shortens under stress. I see you wake up every day saying you have to keep going, that no one will understand, and that you have no choice. But I made you for connection, for help, for shared burdens, for communion with me. This is not a life in which you endure silently, fearing a gradual collapse into despair. You saw your exhaustion, which you thought was normal, but it's not. It's a far sign that I put inside you, so that you could turn your lower back to me before your spirit collapses. I'm not asking you to be weak. I'm asking you to avoid complicated isolation with strength. Real power isn't doing everything by myself. It's letting me into the areas you've been trying to control by yourself for too long. You can't do it alone, and I can't help you keep believing, which is something you need to take very seriously. The words I'm speaking to you now aren't casual, random, or unintentional. They come from the deepest parts of my heart for you, which is why I waited to say them. They carry weight, a tenderness, and a reality that needed the right time, the right softness in your spirit, and the right setting in your heart. I haven't been talking because I didn't have anything to say. I wanted my words to come at a time when you would understand how important they were, instead of brushing them aside with doubt, fear, or distraction. I wanted you to understand that what I'm talking about now isn't just instruction, but affection. Not an Aryan affection, but intimate love. You have wondered if my silence meant I was sad, as if I were holding back because you weren't positive enough. But that wasn't the truth. My silence wasn't a punishment. It becomes safe. I defended these words until you were ready to feel their depth without pushing them away. I used to protect your heart so my voice could heal instead of crush. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm telling you something I've always wanted to tell you. The love I have for you is much deeper than any love you've experienced from humans. That's because humans love in a way that isn't perfect, consistent, or conditional. But I don't. I love that you stay steady even when your feelings change. My love is steady even when you doubt yourself, and it is present even when you feel unfit. The words I'm giving you now aren't just empty comforts. They may be foundations and the truths I've been shaping you for. You are entering a time when my voice will become clearer, not because I suddenly chose to talk, but because your heart has become open enough to hear me, without filtering my words through old wounds. What I talk about these days is being drenched in love, filled with compassion, and overflowing with patience. I waited to speak so you would know that every word comes from a place so deep, so purposeful, and so rooted in who I made you to be, that you can't mistake my voice for anything other than love. And now that I've started, I can keep going because you are ready, and my heart has much more to share with yours. Let me immediately address the part of you that has endured years of exhaustion. People praised your energy, but I saw it draining your life. You took on roles, expectations, emotional hundreds, and invisible duties because you thought that's what responsible people do. You thought it made you noble, reliable, and worthy. But what you thought was duty, I saw as a weight that was slowly suffocating your spirit. You weren't meant to carry everything you've been carrying. This is why it often feels as though you are constantly ascending a hill, even on days when everything appears to be fine. The truth you've been ignoring is that not every burden you bear, not every battle you engage in, and not every problem you face is yours to resolve. You've taken on emotional responsibility for people who didn't ask you to repair their lives, but you felt like you had to carry their fears, hopes, expectations, and broken parts. You thought, if I don't pick the pieces up, everything will fall apart, and you assured yourself that this was adulthood. But adulthood isn't defined by how much you offer. It's defined by knowing what's yours and what's mine. You've given too much because you thought it was the best way to be precise, the best way to be loved, the best way to keep the peace, and the best way to save yourself from chaos. But I don't see you as the savior of others. You've been walking around thinking that if you rest, you'll disappoint someone. If you stop helping, someone could become hurt. And if you say no, someone will think less of you. But listen to me. I never asked you to sacrifice your health to keep the world going. You call it loyalty, but I call it selflessness. You call it consistency, but I call it bondage. You call it love, but I call it a misunderstanding of what love really is. Real duty doesn't weigh you down, it makes you stronger. Real duty brings clarity, not confusion. It does not drain you until nothing is left. My beloved, you have become wary because you are holding on to what I have been ready to take from you. I'm now not asking you to be responsible. I am asking you to align yourself with me, with the truth, and with the life I have designed for you. Avoid wearing everything at once. Begin wearing what is most effective in the area on your fingers. You had in no way been meant to break below the weight of expectations. Under the weight of my grace, you were meant to breathe. Permit me to pull back the veil for a second, so that you can see what you've been blind to. You've been fighting battles that nobody else may want to see. Now not even those closest to you. You also assumed that you were preventing them by yourself. However, I've been standing beside you, defending you, strengthening you, and intervening in approaches you have not yet realized. Your invisible battles aren't invisible to me. I have seen the intellectual storms that raged at the back of your calm face. I have seen the anxiety that rose internally in you without caution. The heaviness you couldn't explain was palpable. The concern struck you during quiet moments. The confusion persisted even during periods of tranquility. I saw you fight against memories that suddenly came back to you, doubts that told you lies, and inner darkness that tried to convince you that you were losing. You fought against temptations, insecurities, loneliness, and intrusive thoughts. You fought against discouragement, unhappiness, and despair. You thought you were alone in your struggle because no one else understood you. But I did. I saw every shadow that tried to swallow the light in you. I saw every non-secular weight pushing towards your soul. I saw every inner conflict that left you emotionally bruised. And I stepped into the war quietly, faithfully, and powerfully. You didn't see me, but you felt moments of unexpected energy. Where panic used to linger, you suddenly felt calm. Even though you didn't hear me, without knowing me, you made it through nights you thought would destroy you. That wasn't a coincidence. I fought for you, defended you, interceded for you, and pushed back the darkness that tried to weigh you down. You may think you're weak because the war is still going on, but the truth is that you are stronger because you haven't fought a single moment of it on your own. The invisible battles didn't consume you because I stood guard over your soul. I was your guard long before you even knew chance was getting close to you. I was your safe haven when your thoughts turned into a battlefield. I was your anchor when your feelings tried to pull you down. And I'm telling you now, the war is changing. The stress you've been under isn't a sign that you're losing. It's a sign that the enemy is afraid of what's being born inside of you. I fought with you, and I will keep fighting until the war that scared you turns into a story that inspires others. With my help, you have never lost or overlooked any part of your battle. You've lived as if no one was watching. You've pushed through heartbreak as if no one cared. You have faced challenges as though they were your own. But I felt every emotion, every pain, and every burden. I observed it each time you compelled yourself to appear strong while internally struggling. I observed it each time you lie in bed, weary, reflecting on your errors, as though they determine your true value. I observed it each time you concealed tears in public, only to break down once you were alone. I witnessed the prolonged nights when you felt overlooked, the mornings when you struggled to rise from bed, and the afternoons when an inexplicable heaviness weighed upon your chest. You believed I was inattentive, yet I was observing with a love so unwavering, so intense, so enduring that, if you fully comprehended it, it would overwhelm you in the most profound and positive manner conceivable. You believe your conflict is insignificant because it remains unseen by others, but I am aware of every detail of it. I've seen you choose kindness even when you were hurting. I have observed you support others, even when no one was present to support you. I've seen you keep going even when everything inside you wanted to give up. I've seen you fight battles no one else knows you're fighting. And because I've seen it all, I can't let you believe the lie that you are invisible. You are seen more deeply, more completely, and in more detail than you've ever imagined. I see the strength you don't provide yourself credit for. I see your quiet courage and the strength that rises in you when life hits. I perceive the beauty within you that the world fails to recognize, as well as the depth of intensity you have endeavored to conceal. I see your war, yes, but I also see your growth. I see your pain, yes, but I also see your ability. I see your tears, yes, but I also see your transformation. I'm looking at you with eyes of compassion, not judgment, and with eyes of purpose, not disappointment. And because I see everything, nothing you're going through will be wasted. You instructed yourself that point might fix what broke you. However, Time handily buried the pain underneath your obligations. You told yourself that distraction could spoil the cycle, but distraction became some other cycle that never gave you relaxation. You instructed yourself that you can outgrow the wounds via being sturdy, effective, or emotionally independent. However, power without comfort most effectively hardened your coronary heart. You've attempted to speak yourself into peace, attempted to purpose yourself out of worry, and you've attempted to push yourself past the moments your soul had to pause. But recuperation has never come honestly due to the fact you attempted something tougher. Restoration comes while you allow yourself to be held. And that's what you've been warding off without even figuring it out. You've been moving through life like someone looking to patch cracks in a dam with your naked fingers. Each time one closes, every other opens. You observed you're failing at recovery. However, in reality, self-restoration was never intended to be the whole story. You suggest a presence, a deep, affected person, a gentle presence. Additionally, in this creative and devotional space, where my voice is a metaphor for romance, reality, and non-secular comfort, I'm telling you that the peace you sought isn't always found in numbing, escaping, accomplishing, or suppressing. It comes from letting yourself be prone, in a space where you are safe, where you are understood without having to explain it, where you are received without having to perform, and where you are loved without conditions. You've been healing incrementally, in between your responsibilities, but your heart is worn out because it hasn't been healed completely, not deeply. This healing has not occurred from the inside out. You've tried everything but authentic stillness. You said, "God, just show me," so normally with hope in your voice and fear in your chest. And even though this message is written in a religiously symbolic voice full of metaphors and kindness, it is still an answer to their prayers. You've been asking for clarity, but it doesn't always come in the way you expect it to. You were hoping for divine intervention, and for the seas to open up. There had to be something clear, unmistakable, and dramatic enough to cast out all questions. On the other hand, the signs you've received have often been subtle, as your heart craved kindness rather than force. I assisted you in understanding the nudges you couldn't explain. With the help of the pain that drove you to grow, the chances that came at just the right time, and the hunger that told you you were meant for more. It wasn't an accident now. Even though they were signs, you sometimes disagreed with them because they didn't look like you thought a sign should. And yet, here you are still looking, still hoping, still wanting. So I'm telling you clearly, this moment, these words, this stirring inside you, it is one of the proofs you have been looking for. You didn't just happen to find this place by chance. You weren't just studying for no reason. There is something inside you that brought you here, because it is ready to get what you ask for. You're not making up the pull you feel. You are no longer thinking how it will feel to your soul. Your spirit can tell when facts and readiness meet. And right now, your spirit knows this. Some signs are very loud. Some signs are not too serious. Some things happen at times that wake you up. Deep whispers can reach certain individuals. What a deep whisper that is. Think about how many times you've begged for comfort, asked for confirmation, prayed for alignment, and hoped for a word. Something to let you know you're not reading your life wrong. Think about how many times you've said, "Just let me know something." You long for a moment such as this. It's finally here, and the clarity is touching the floor of your heart. Something inside you is opening up. Something is letting out a breath and saying, "Maybe I'm not as lost as I thought." You are not lost. You've never been. It was only necessary to find a clue that spoke to your heart. This proper noun, right here in this symbolic voice, is one of them. Listen to me for the whole second. It took me this long to tell you some facts, because I wanted you to understand something about yourself. Something that you often forget. This is something that often escapes your notice. Every time you feel doubt, you forget about some things. This is what I wanted you to look at. And even though you have doubts, questions, worries, and times when you don't follow through, you keep coming back. When you're worn out, you come back. You come back when you're stressed out. You come when you're feeling well. You come back when you're hurt. You come back when life gets confusing. You come even though you don't think you deserve to come and be back. And going back, making a choice, reaching your goal, and pulling yourself towards something greater, even when you don't feel like you're on track. That matters more than you think. You think your worries make you ineligible. You saw your moments of distance let me down. You think that being inconsistent makes the gene less strong. But pay close attention to this voice of creative devotion that comes from God's kindness. I no longer judge you by the times you drift off to sleep. I urge you to follow your heart's path. Your heart still turns to me over and over again. Even when you feel like you're too broken, too busy, too confused, or too flawed, your heart still turns to me. The return isn't always small. It's everything. Going back to well-known tells the truth about your heart. Return to the well-known spot where your spirit lives. At return, you'll be known for your need for relationship, which you can definitely end. This is something I've been holding in until the right time for your heart to understand it, without ignoring it. You've never been as far away from me because of your worries as you thought you would be. They brought you closer because doubt is often the way to get to deeper truths. Faith and doubt are not at odds with each other. That's what apathy is, and you're not it. You have too many feelings. There is too much care in your heart. You really do long to. Your questions don't come up. They might be hungry. That means hunger. They are experiencing a hunger for security. There is a deep-seated yearning for love that remains unwavering, for truth that doesn't change and presence that doesn't leave. Your heart knows where home is, even if you don't, because you reach back every time. Even if your hands shake, listen to me. We have never ruled you out because of your worries. They haven't made you less outstanding in any way. People still love you even though you're not always honest. I see you coming back, not your beauty. And your coming back is enough. Let me talk to you right away about the pain that has shaped a lot of how you see yourself. You've felt like you didn't deserve love. This feeling is no longer limited to brief moments or periods of sadness or failure. In the quiet parts of your life, you felt it. The quiet parts of your heart where your lack of confidence speaks the loudest. You wonder if you deserve love, patience, and someone who will stay, choose, and believe in you. You've been afraid that if people really saw you, with all your flaws, mistakes, problems, and complexity, they would stop loving you. Your fear has led you to delicately balance your emotions. Usually, you find yourself taking action, implementing changes, and constantly striving to prevent anyone from leaving. But love that is based on achievement is not love. The purpose of love is to stay alive. And you were not made to handle love either. You were made to cool off in it. Please pay attention to me in this symbolic voice, this new way of expressing God's love. My love for you has always been there. No more in your broken seasons. Stop being so angry about things. No longer in your quiet times. It's time to move past the period of self-doubt. Now, not for your times of wandering. You agree that your worth depends on your actions, feelings, successes, and failures. Your worth doesn't change, though. It's a lot more stable. Love doesn't get weaker when you fight. It doesn't become weaker when you doubt it. It stays bright even when you fall. It's love between people. Weak, dependent on circumstances, and often uncertain. But the love I'm talking about here isn't human. Instead of overall success, it's much more steady, unwavering, and based on truth. You believed you needed to earn love, but love has always been present for you. At times you feel like you've been too much, too emotional, too quiet, too intense, too sensitive, and too guarded. There were times when you felt like you weren't strong enough, sure enough of yourself, stable enough, or whole enough. But listen, you haven't been too much or too little for me. You have always been who you are. Someone you should love deeply, just because you exist, and clearly because your heart beats. Your soul brims with intensity, depth, pain, and beauty. The lies you've told yourself about how much you're worth have affected how you let others love you. You're content with a lot less now. Normal bits are what you have. You've put up with indifference. You've downplayed what you want. But love is telling you that you are worthy, no matter what. That hasn't been the case at all. This is not the case now, nor will it be in the near future. Never ever. More and more. You'll start to feel what you have been trying so hard to trust for a long time. It's always been true that you are loved fully, without fail, and forever. You should listen to me with the strength of someone whose life is gradually changing. Your question about why you're doing what you're doing has become so big that it's become a partner. It follows you around in the morning, watches over your choices, and whispers doubts in your mind late at night. You see your life through loss, failure, change, endings, breakdowns, growth, and ignorance. In the middle of all that, a fear shaped the person inside you. Your fear stemmed from the possibility that your cause may have lost its momentum. You might have missed your danger. Maybe you're no longer important. You might be too old, too late, too unfit, or too far behind to carry something important anymore. You've seen the seasons change around you, but you feel stuck inside. People are walking ahead of you, and you wonder if you actually have a way to get there. You felt the pain of wanting something better, but not knowing if it was still possible for you. But now listen to me in this voice that stands for God's promise. Even though life got harder, your reason didn't go away. When you made mistakes, your mission didn't go away. Your self-belief shrank, but your reason didn't. Your goal is strong and independent of perfection. Reason isn't always a moment. It's a long trip. It happens over years, through mistakes and successes, heartbreak and recovery, and reports that change you into a person who is smarter, stronger, more compassionate, and more influential than you could have been without them. You're not behind. You are getting things in order. We haven't forgotten about you. You're being careful. You don't have any reason. For sure, you're now in the middle of the story, and not at the end. I know you're wondering, what do I even offer anymore? Here's my answer. You have done more than ever before. Your cause is no longer dependent on kids, success, popularity, or doing an impressive job every time. Your drive grows with each season you've made it through, each inset you've won, each scar that has made you softer, and each resurrection that took place inside you when life tried to kill you. Reason changes as you change. The things you've been through have carved knowledge into your soul in a way that could not have been achieved any other way. Right now, you are more prepared than you've ever been for your goal. Therefore, please do listen to me. You still have a reason. You are still being called. There is still a purpose for you. It needs your presence, your voice, your heart, your skills, your experiences, and your honesty. You haven't done anything. You're not going anywhere. We haven't forgotten about you. You are at the start of a part where readability will start to rise, which means it will start to come back. Not because you were chasing it, but because you finally slowed down enough to catch it. Regardless of the distance, your cause remains alive and poised to lead. One breath, 1 second, and one choice at a time. I want to talk to you about the secret mistake you've had about yourself. You believe it's true that you've upset God. You think there have been times when you failed spiritually, emotionally, morally, or in relationships because of choices, mistakes, or responses. Inside your head, you've been telling yourself that you let me down because you weren't proper, loyal, strong, controlled, or obedient enough. For that reason, a quiet shame has fallen over you. One that says, I should have done better, even when your heart was hurting, harassed, or overwhelmed. You replay these times not because they define you, but because they define our relationship. But listen, you have never let me down, not once. If you call something a failure, I can see the whole truth behind it every time you say it. I see the stress, injuries, and fears you couldn't express, the loneliness that shaped your choices, and the survival mode you were in. You make your own choices through the movement, but I see the heart behind it. You decide for yourself by looking at the end effects, but I can see the situations that made me want to do that. You rate yourself by the moment, but I see the whole journey. What do you call failing? That's what I call it. I call what you call sadness growth. What you call falling quickly, I call mastering to stand. You claim that you need to become stronger, yet you overlook the battles you have faced when you were at your peak. You say you should have depended on more, but you don't take into account how hard it is to think when your heart has been hurt by using lifestyles. You say you need to attend more often, but you don't discuss the weight you've been carrying that has made being consistent seem impossible. You call yourself a loser in your religion, but I haven't called you that at all. That's because I don't measure your value based on how exceptional you are. I judge it by how much you want to grow. Go back and push yourself up again even after you fall. And the truth is that you haven't stopped coming back. No matter how negative you felt about yourself, you continued to come back. Your heart kept growing to become again toward me, even though it was flawed, even though it was quiet, even though it was full of shaking doubt. Furthermore, going back, no matter how little, is proof that you did not fail. You would have failed if you had given up, broken down, or lost your desire to connect. But you didn't. Faith, a weak wish, a whispered prayer, and a desire for something deeper were all you had even when things were at their worst. Even though it felt very thin, that thread was enough for you to hear me online. You have not failed me in any way. You've only been a person. Furthermore, being human isn't always a bad thing. It is the blank surface on which change happens. Let the next fact break the pressure inside you. You are not behind in your work, your relationships, your successes, your healing, or your growth. You feel as though you should have achieved more by now, comprehended more, healed more, created more, and grown more. This heavy, suffocating belief has been with you your whole life. People have compared your schedule to those around you, judging your success by unsuitable standards. You've seen others reach goals you haven't reached yet, and felt the sting of not being successful enough. You've told yourself that you missed your chance, that you're late, that you're slow, and that life is going too quickly for you to keep up. But please listen to me through this sympathetic voice. You're not behind them. You're following the steps, and the method is not broken. Because your reason is different, your journey has been unique. Because you have more depth, it has taken you longer to grow. From my perspective, what looks like delay to you is often teaching. There were times when you felt like you were stuck, but you were actually being planted. There were times when nothing made sense, but you were still progressing. There were times when you felt left out, but you were actually being set aside. Years ago, doors shut, but they did so to lead you to doors that would open at the best time. A time that fits with the person you are becoming, not the person you were. You're not behind them. You are being made. You are not behind schedule. You are getting lined up. We haven't forgotten about you. You are getting things in order. You are becoming a better person because of all the good times, bad times, detours, and unexpected turns you've been on. Long-term growth doesn't happen quickly. Power that lasts doesn't come about quickly. It takes time to learn awareness that changes things. In case you were meant to be there too, you will be. You would have something by now if you were supposed to. If you were supposed to go through a certain door, it would have been open. You are right where your soul wants you to be for the next thing. You are being lied to by evaluation. Strain is not telling you the truth. For you, tradition is lying. But this truth doesn't change. You're not behind them. You're being shaped by the best time in your story. As we talk, I see how in tune you are with the future you think you've missed. You haven't missed anything. You're on time. Pay close attention to this information with the force of facts, breaking through years of quiet pain. You feel forgotten, ignored, and excluded. You've seen other people form circles around you without inviting you or holding you safe in those circles. Share moments that you hadn't even thought about before. And every time it happened, something inside you told you it would end badly. I probably don't depend as much as I think. You started to emotionally distance yourself by telling yourself that you didn't need everyone, that you were perfect, and that the space didn't affect you. But the truth is that it did. It cut you more deeply than you've ever told anyone. You've lived with the fear of being left behind like a quiet shadow, telling yourself that being forgotten meant you weren't relevant enough to be remembered. But now pay attention to this voice that stands for God and is soft and loving. With my help, you have not been forgotten in any way, not even for a second. I've seen you question your worth based on how other people treated you, and I saw how badly it hurt you when they didn't thank you for your work, your heart, your presence, or your loyalty. You gave more than you got, and I saw it. Show up for people who didn't show up for you. Love those who don't know your worth and focus on draining relationships. At first, you thought that their absence showed how valuable you were, but in reality, it showed their limits, not who you were. A person's heart often forgets things it doesn't understand. Every once in a while, people forget what's too real, too deep, or too honest for them to handle. Your cost didn't go down at all because they weren't able to look at it. Different people came and went, some gently and some painfully. But I stayed, not from afar, and I didn't hurt you once in a while. I paid full attention the whole time. I stayed with you while you cried in your car by myself. I stayed with you when you felt invisible in a crowded room. I stayed while you pretended everything was fine. I stayed with you while you curled up and wondered why everyone else was thought to have a place in the world besides you. We didn't forget about you. You have been held in places that people can't see. At times, you felt a calm that you couldn't explain, a normal sense of safety, and a sudden sense of warmth that didn't come from a person. That was me telling you how valuable you are. There were moments when power materialized unexpectedly. That turned into me letting you know who you really are. There were times when you felt a spark of desire in the middle of being alone. What that means is that I'm whispering that you are seen. Some people might forget too, but I can't. It's possible to have not noticed. However, I keep you aware at all times. As this conversation continues, they will realize that those who forgot you were never meant to value you. Let me talk directly to the quiet sadness that has been building up inside you. You have lowered your hopes for your life. You stopped having high goals, but not because you wanted to. You did it because disappointment taught you to do so. Quickly, you had brave dreams, prayers, and beliefs. With a heart that trusted in destiny, you dreamed of happiness, success, achievement, meaning, love, and peace. But somewhere along the way, your habits hurt you. Plans didn't work out. People change. Opportunities go away. You had problems that you didn't see coming. You experienced the pain of failure, tardiness, and unanswered questions. Over time, you stopped looking forward to favorable things and started getting ready for adverse things, and you didn't even realize it. Instead, you taught yourself to limit your dreams to avoid hurting people. You stopped looking forward to benefits because you were afraid of the pain of having your hopes dashed. Now, heed the whisper of confidence that echoes like a divine voice. No changes have been made to my plans for you. Your future never hinged on the stability of your emotions, not because you were strong or perfect. Although you could have dropped your eyes, I haven't done that. You may have given up on yourself, but I haven't given up on much less for you. You have forgotten how wonderful you are, but I see it. There are ways for you that you don't think of yet. I see doors that you think are locked. It appears that you are experiencing a period of rapid growth, and your ideas are too late to blossom. The dreams you thought were over didn't happen, but you think you studied them. You think that by studying, your reason got weaker, but it didn't. You think your future shrunk, but it actually stopped while it waited for your heart to beat again. Because you were trying to keep from getting hurt more, you lowered your hopes. But I'd like to ask you to raise your standards again. Now, not because you have to force yourself to be positive, but because the chance to breathe came back into your story. Let me say it without any doubt. Because you stopped thinking you earn more, your life is constantly changing in smaller ways. What do? You deserve more happiness, peace, success, meaning, beauty, connections, and life. You haven't done it yet. Your story doesn't end. You haven't missed the good things that happen. I'm also gently pushing you to have higher hopes. Even though you may feel cautious, uncertain, or afraid of praying again, it's not solely based on what you've witnessed, but primarily on what remains achievable. My plans did not fail in any way. Even the most fundamental aspects met your expectations. From here on out, I'm slowly and carefully moving your view back down to where it was. Let me talk to you in the deepest, most private part of your heart, the only one you don't let everyone see very often. You have wept in solitude, not with loud, tumultuous tears, but with the gentle, silent streams that merely flow down your face in the darkness. You know, the ones that fall while you're sitting alone and keeping your cool, because you don't want everyone to be scared. These tears come unexpectedly. Whether you're doing the dishes, riding, or lying in bed, it's caused by a feeling that rose without warning. You cried quietly, because you thought no one should understand how deeply you were feeling. You were afraid that if you tried to explain your pain, it would be misread, ignored, or played down, so you kept it inside. You quickly wiped away the tears. You pushed the pain down. You told yourself to just deal with it. But I saw every tear. I knew what every silent cry meant. I was aware of the thoughts running through your mind each time you proclaimed, "I'm the best," despite not truly being so. I knew what the layers were. Indeed, I understood the depths of your pain. There is frustration under the anger, exhaustion under the sadness, fear under the numbness, and wounds under the silence. Your tears weren't really about what happened. They were talking about what woke you up inside. They've been about the memories it brought up, the fears it brought back, and the doubts it worsened. And while you were telling yourself that no one should ever understand how complicated your feelings were, I knew exactly what they were. Because of your loneliness, there were moments when you wept, longing for someone to embrace you without questioning why. There have been times when life asked too much of you, and those tears came from stress. There were tears because of getting older, changing, not knowing what would happen next, heart attach, grief, being heavy, frustration, and a quiet wish that would not go away. And even though no one else saw those tears, I did. Each one said something, but your lips were too tired to speak. It hurts me. I'm worn out. I'm lost. Please help me. I need to want. I need some peace and quiet. And right now, in this non-secular symbolic conversation, I'm telling you that none of these private tears were lost or ignored. There are no longer any signs of weakness. They showed that a soul was still working, still feeling, and still hoping despite the weight. I knew every feeling that was woven into them. I knew what they were wishing for. I knew how strong someone had to be to cry alone and keep going. As long as this conversation goes on, you'll start to feel something vague but clear. Getting permission to then let yourself be carried instead of always carrying yourself. You should really pay attention to what I have to say. There has been fear whispered in your ear for too long. Its voice has shaped more of your decisions, feelings, limits, and ideas about yourself than you realize. Worry has been the main thing that drives me. It does not speak loudly or violently, but rather quietly and persistently, pushing you towards doubt, avoiding opportunities, lowering your self-esteem, deceiving your goals, and persuading you to remain small for the sake of safety. Worry has been hiding as care, knowledge, duty, and even modesty, when in fact it has been watching over you from behind. Fear has defined your identity, abilities, hopes, worth, and future, even though you're used to its presence. I'm telling you right now, in a voice that sounds like the voice of God, fear can no longer guide you. I've seen how worry talks to you right before you start something new. I've seen how it says not to try. You'll fail. Do not love. You will hurt. Don't dream. It might not happen. Don't think about it. It will hurt you. Do not talk. People will get you wrong. Don't go around. What little you have you will lose. Fear sounds like care, like self-safety, because it sounds like something you know. You always did what it said without realizing you were bowing to it. The things that worry has done to your future are not my fault. Worry has limited your identity in ways I did not write. Because of fear, you're staying in places where your soul can't grow. But listen up. Worry isn't always a true voice. It sounds a lot like someone who is locked up, and I can't let it be the largest voice in your life all the time. You were not made to get through life by avoiding everything that could go wrong. You were meant to go forward, knowing that you are backed up, led, supported, and able to navigate through the unknown. Don't let worry keep you from seeing how brave you really are. Fear never wanted you to learn how strong you really are. You're capable of more than fear ever said. Worry's goal became to keep you from becoming who you really are. Worry understood that its control over you would cease as soon as you embraced courage, clarity, growth, and self-belief. This symbolic voice that sounds like God is reassuring us is here to announce the change. The voice of fear has become too loud to ignore. Before you get the courage to break free, you don't want to go. Being brave is the second step, not the first. Now your heart is becoming aware of a new truth. Fear can talk, but it can't make decisions. Fear may also whisper, but it will no longer be in charge. You might also feel scared, but that won't change the choices you make. Your life is on the verge of transformation, ensuring that worry no longer holds sway, and that courage takes its place. I want to talk to the part of your soul that has become guarded, tired, and protective. You've been afraid to hope again, not because you don't have any other options, but because wanting something has hurt you in the past. You wish things had not happened. You hoped that people wouldn't stay. You've been hoping for chances that didn't come up. You longed for seasons that never came. And whenever desire let you down, something inside you tightened, closed, and faded. It taught you to trust much less, so that you wouldn't become hurt again. You learned to hide your wants so that no one would see how weak you were. To avoid disappointment, you prepare for the worst. But pay attention to me in this voice that sounds like God and is full of kindness. You have also kept yourself from pleasure by protecting yourself from hope. And I'm giving you hope again. I am not referring to the fragile kind of hope, but to the strong kind. The kind that is built on trust. The kind that grows stronger after being broken. Hope isn't foolish. Hope doesn't always seem silly. Hope is not always a sign of weakness. A wish is one of the bravest things a person can do. Hope says, even after everything I've been through, I still believe that something exact is possible. Wish says, my story isn't over. Hope says, there's more for me than what I have lived to this point. But because hope has hurt you in the past, you're afraid to let it push you forward again. You fear disappointment more than you choose joy. You worry about heartbreak more than you choose success. You fear false starts more than you believe in fresh starts. So you've kept your heart in a safe but suffocating space, alive but not fully awake. But I'm breathing into you now, restoring hope, like light coming back on after a long night. You might not fully feel it yet, but something inside you is slowly but surely shifting. You are beginning to envision anew, to dream anew, to desire again, and to contemplate whether perhaps, just perhaps, the right opportunities can still manifest for you. Your hope is growing as you undergo internal healing. You are finally strong enough to wish again, not because life is easier, but because your spirit is being renewed. Listen to me, it's safe to wish again. Not because you won't face difficult situations, but because you won't have to face them alone. It's safe to believe again, because hope isn't always an attraction. It's not the start of change. I'm giving you hope right now and this time. It won't break you, I can build you. The truth I've been eager to share with you is that your story is far from over. You've been through seasons that felt like they went on forever, chapters that felt like they ended, and times that seemed like nothing important could come from them. You've told yourself, this has to be it. Everything should end here. I have to stay here. You've thought that certain mistakes marked the end of your potential, and that certain heartbreaks erased your ability to love, think, dream, or start over. But listen to me now, what you thought were endings were actually turning points, and what you thought were useless ends were actually redirections. What you thought had fallen apart may actually be foundations being built from the ground up. You're not at the end, you're at a sacred, important, and necessary transition. You're leaving behind old versions of yourself, old identities, old fears, old stories, old wounds, and old expectations. And even though transitions feel like endings, unsteady, uncertain, and uncomfortable, they may just be the start of the next bankruptcy. Nothing is finished, sealed, or wasted. Your story is still being written in parts that you don't even realize are chapters. I've held on to this truth, anticipating the moment when your heart will accept it without dismissing it as mere wishful thinking. You are still becoming. There are pleasures you haven't tasted, benefits you haven't touched, relationships you haven't met, chances you haven't seen, healing you haven't walked in, and strength in you that hasn't been used. You are not too late, too damaged, or too old. You are not being watched or caught. Your story is alive and being told on purpose. Every breath you take is a sentence being written. Every second of boom is a page turner. When you choose hope over fear, courage over withdrawal, and recovery over hiding, you are stepping into the next part of your story. So listen to me now with clarity. Nothing is over. You are not at the end. You are on the verge of becoming a person who is stronger, wiser, softer, and more powerful than you've ever been. Your story is actually just beginning. You've thought, sometimes out loud and sometimes in your head, that your best days are behind you. You've looked back on your past with nostalgic eyes, remembering times of pleasure, possibility, confidence, connection, or readability. And you've decided that nothing that happens now should probably change what will happen in the future. You've convinced yourself that the best parts of your story have already been written, that your peak has already been reached, and that you've already lived the chapters that are worth celebrating. And with that thought, something in your heart stopped beating so strongly. You stopped looking for beauty with equal eagerness. You stopped looking forward to moving ahead. You stopped imagining a future that might be greater than what you know. But hear me now with the force of this divine, like voice. Your best days are not behind you. They're ahead, and that's not because your past is empty. It's because your future is full. You've grown up and learned things about yourself that you didn't know before. You've gained strength, compassion, depth, and knowledge through battles you didn't want to fight but did. You're not the same person you were in your younger years. You're stronger, clearer, and more aware now. If your past had any blessings, they were meant to help the version of you that existed at that time. But the version of you that exists now needs a different kind of blessing. One that is deeper, richer, and smarter. You are not going backward. You are moving forward into a life that you can honestly sustain and enjoy in ways that you couldn't when you were younger or less healed. You saw your life peak early, however. It has been steadily ascending the whole time, even during the times that felt like decline. You can now have more profound relationships, live more genuinely, love without sacrificing yourself, and make decisions based on wisdom instead of fear. Your past was the foundation, but your future is where the fullness of who you are is going. So listen to me, the story isn't ending, it's being built. What lies ahead isn't less, it's more purposeful, more pleasant, and more rooted in reality and love. You haven't ignored your prime, you are entering it. The days ahead will hold a kind of beauty, pleasure, and purpose that you are eventually ready to grasp. Your quality days are starting in front of you, not behind you. Let me touch a part of you that you've kept hidden for years. Life has hardened you, not because you wanted it to, but because you felt like you had no choice. You learn how to protect yourself. You learn how to become stronger. You learn to bury tenderness, because the world often mistreated your softness. You learn how to quiet parts of your heart, because being vulnerable costs you too much. You have become careful with your feelings, with your acceptance as true, and selective with your openness. You didn't build walls because you wanted to hurt people. You did it because you had to. But even though you're guarded, you've longed for softness again. You've missed the person who could hope easily, love freely, trust without fear, and feel deeply. Now listen to me. I'm softening what life has hardened. Not to make you fragile, but to make you whole again. Your toughness was a defense, not your true self. It grew because you were hurt, disappointed, betrayed, criticized, or ignored, and each painful event added a new layer to your heart. But beneath those layers, your softness never died, it just slept. Life may have dulled your tenderness, but it never went away. Now, in this symbolic divine, like voice, I'm gently, purposefully removing the layers that life built around your soul. I'm returning you to the strength of softness. This is an energy that embraces openness, embraces sensitivity, doesn't suppress emotion, and doesn't perceive weakness as weakness. I'm softening the places where anger tried to take root, where worry told you to stay away, where sadness taught you to expect much less, and where heartbreak tried to change who you are. You were not meant to be hardened. You were meant to be whole. You were meant to feel life's pleasures, not just survive on them. You weren't just made to guard against loss. You were made to love. You were meant to pray, not just go through it. And as the softening begins, you may discover yourself feeling more again, with more compassion, connection, empathy, courage to open up, willingness to agree, and the ability to provide and receive love in healthy, balanced ways. It may seem strange at first, and you may push it because hardness feels safer. But softness is where your real power lies. It's where your personal identity rests. I'm bringing you back to it, but not through force. Let me talk to you with a tenderness that meets you where you are. You've been living in survival mode for longer than you know. You have been coping with your feelings just enough to get through the day, but it's not enough to really live. You have been working with your anxious machine on high alert. Your mind is always looking ahead to the next problem, and your heart is ready for impact, even when you're not being violent. Survival mode kept you alive, but it didn't help you thrive. It taught you how to deal, not how to relax. It taught you how to bear, not how to breathe. It taught you how to cope with pain, but not how to heal from it. But I'm not leaving you in survival mode. I'm leading you into recovery. Recovery doesn't look like rushing back to normal. It looks like learning a new way of being. One where your heart isn't clenched in fear, and your shoulders can eventually drop. Where your mind isn't racing, and your soul can finally breathe out. Recovery isn't always passive, it's intentional. And right now, whether you know it or not, I'm leading you into it. Recovery method. Your anxious machine starts to calm down. Recovery method. You start to feel grounded instead of scattered. Method of recovery. You begin to see beauty once more rather than just danger. Recovery method. Pleasure becomes possible, not uncommon. Recovery method. Peace is something you give, not something you chase. Healing touches your identity, going beyond the version of you that made it through the worst times. Survival mode feels so familiar because you needed it for a while. You needed it to get through things you didn't have help with. You needed it to get through things you didn't know how to get out of. You needed it because life put you in situations that required more from you than anyone knew. As you move into a new chapter, survival mode is no longer serving you. I'm guiding you into healing slowly, gently, and continuously. You may notice small changes in your heartbeat, your breathing, your mind, your body, your desire, and your spirit. These are all indications that you are undergoing internal healing. You are not meant to spend your whole life surviving. You are meant to stay healed, whole, grounded, and renewed. And recovery is already happening inside you. Pay attention to these thoughts with a heart that goes to the core of who you are. You have been shrinking yourself for a long time, too long. You have lowered your voice and tone of voice so others wouldn't feel threatened. You have toned down your presence so no one would accuse you of being cocky. You've lowered your goals so that no one thinks you're unrealistic. You shrank not from low self-esteem, but from fear of upsetting others. You learn how to take up much less space emotionally, mentally, spiritually, creatively, and even physically. You learn how to say sorry for being too bold. You learn how to hide your brilliance, so that you won't disturb the comfort of those who chose mediocrity. But listen to me now on this symbolic divine voice. I didn't make you stay folded, compressed, or contained. I made you stand tall. Shrinking yourself hasn't surrounded anyone, it's only choked your soul. You've lowered your ability to keep the illusion of harmony. You've muted your instincts so others wouldn't feel challenged. When you squished yourself down to avoid conflict, jealousy, or rejection, you lost parts of yourself. You weren't meant to give up anything. You weren't made to be liked. You were made to be effective. You weren't made to fit other people's expectations. You were made to rise above them. Every time you squished yourself down to make someone else feel better, you betrayed your spirit, and I can't let you keep doing that. Your power was meant to be felt. Your voice was meant to carry, and your purpose was meant to leave an imprint. When you go down, the industry loses something irreplaceable. When you fall, your potential to help others never materializes. When you go down, your dreams die against the walls of a life that is too small for who you have become. To truly hear what I have to say, don't shrink any longer. Stand tall, not in happiness but in truth. Stand tall not to hide but to shine. Stand tall no longer to prove something, but to be who you truly are. The world doesn't need a smaller version of you. It needs the whole measure of your existence right now. And from now on, you are stepping back into your rightful shape, the one that fits your calling, your potential, your future, and your soul. I want you to listen to these words with a tenderness that breaks open the part of you that is still clinging to lack. You've settled for less, not because you didn't value yourself, but because you were afraid that if you went for more, you'd lose even what you had. You've been in generic relationships that gave you crumbs because you were afraid of being dumped. You have endured positions that exhaust you due to concerns about potential layoffs. You have remained in environments that diminished your sense of self because of your fear of the unfamiliar. You've kept your dreams small because you were afraid of being sad. You've told yourself that much less is safer, that little is doable, and that barely enough is adequate enough. But listen to me now, settling is a sign of fear, not achievement, and I can't let fear control the rest of your life. You settled for much less because you were trying to survive, but you weren't meant to stay so. You were meant to be excited. You think that choosing less will spare you pain, but it only prolongs the agony of living a life not meant for you. You think that settling down will keep you safe, but it slowly destroys your soul from the inside out, making you forget how much you can really experience. You think you're being sensible, but what you've called realistic is really a life built on past hurts instead of future possibilities. You thought you were protecting yourself, but in reality you're suffocating yourself. That's why, in this tone, it sounds like a divide. I'm pulling you out of the mindset of lack and getting you ready for more love, more fulfillment, more clarity, more alignment, more pleasure, more opportunities, and a better life. Not because you earned it or worked diligently for it, but because you'll be able to acquire it eventually. Accepting less used to mean you had no choice and no safety, but now your protection comes from a deeper place. Maintaining a tight grip on something that isn't growing will not lead to stability, and your future won't be built on compromise. You are entering a bankruptcy in which just enough feels foreign and more than enough feels natural. And listen, I'm not telling you to jump without thinking. I'm telling you to let go of what is too small for your future. What you fear losing is nothing compared to what you're being set up to gain. More is coming, not through risk, but through aim. Let me reveal the truth you've been avoiding. You've tolerated draining situations because you didn't agree with them, or didn't believe you had the strength to let them go. You stayed in relationships where you felt unseen, undervalued, or misunderstood because walking away would have been too painful or too complicated. You stayed in environments that stifled your growth because change would have been too much. You clung to mental, emotional, and physical habits that kept you stuck because they were comfortable, predictable, and easy to return to. But I'm calling you into freedom. And freedom always starts with truth. You've put up with emotional exhaustion because you would rather not be the tough one. You've clung to stability because you would rather not let anyone down. You have endured exhaustion because you believed you were not entitled to tranquility. But you were never meant to live in a state of depletion. You were never meant to live off of scraps of pleasure. You were never meant to drown under the needs of others while your own soul suffocated and was left out. This voice, which sounds like God, is telling you to let go of something that is draining your life right now. Let go of the relationships that make you dim your light. Let go of the environments that suffocate your growth. Let go of the behavior that keeps you going through the same pain. Let go of the idea that you need to be in pain to show loyalty, and the belief that you need to hurt yourself emotionally to keep other people comfortable. Freedom is not found in holding on. It is found in crossing over what has become a place where no one should live. And yes, letting go will require bravery, honesty, and figuring out which parts of your life are in line with what you are becoming and which are anchored to what you are beyond. However, letting go isn't always a loss. While you're getting into your authentic lifestyles, letting go is the doorway to liberation. You are not the person that tolerates pain as a way of life. You are getting the individual who chooses alignment over attachment, truth over consolation, peace over chaos, and cause over pressure. And as you begin freeing what drains you, you will make space, lovely, sacred space, for what nourishes you to ultimately arrive. Pay attention to me with a force that dispels every false belief you've held about yourself. You're a long way more capable than you suspect you are. You've checked out your lifestyles through the lens of your insecurities, not your capability. You've weighed your abilities through past disasters in place of gift possibility. You've allowed worry, doubt, and evaluation to decrease the truth of who you are. You have advised yourself you're now not equipped, no longer robust enough, now not gifted enough, no longer worth enough, and now not prepared enough. However, what you didn't see is that your functionality no longer glides from self-assurance. That strength comes from being in the right place, being present, and not having to rely on yourself. And now, in a voice that sounds like a divine being, I'm saying what I've been holding in my heart for too long. You're capable because I am with you. Not behind you, not somewhere far away, but with you. Woven into your bravery, anchored to your identity, strengthening your steps even when you feel weak. You've been underestimating your own abilities because you've been measuring your strength by the times you felt defeated instead of the times you stuck it out. You forget how many battles you won, how many times you got back up when life tried to put you down, and how many times you kept going when it would have been easier to give up. You forget how often you carried more weight than anyone else did. You forget how quickly you can adapt, how deeply you care, how fiercely you love, and how strong you really are. You've faced challenges. Your thoughts have the potential to devastate you. You've had to heal from hurts your idea could define you. You've grown in ways you don't recognize. There must be something strong inside you because you're still here, still preventing, still growing, still achieving, and still reading these words. You think you don't think highly of yourself because you see your flaws too clearly and your strengths not enough. But I see it all. I see the gifts you haven't dared to use yet, the dreams you've tucked away out of fear, the knowledge etched into your soul by every hard-earned lesson, and the calling that was a part of you long before life tried to tell you otherwise. You are smarter and stronger than you think. That's not because you never fight, but because you keep moving through it. That's when thoughts fill in the blanks when you run out of power. Now pay attention. Don't tell yourself you're not talented enough. Keep from limiting your skills. Don't believe the story that says you're not worthy enough for the lives you were made for. There is no doubt that you are deeply, powerfully, and fiercely brilliant. That's not because life has been easy, but because you know how to climb the fireplace and will certainly do it again. Let me talk right away to the mean reviewer inside you that has been shaping who you are. Through the mistakes you made when you didn't know any better, you learned as much as you did. You gained valuable insights from the experiences you had behind closed doors. You learned from the risks of not succeeding. During those times, you fell quickly. Through the connections that didn't last, you were able to overcome these obstacles with the assistance of unexplored options. There were times when you felt stuck, confused, or like you couldn't accomplish anything. You wear your mistakes like labels, letting them show you what you believe to be true and what you can do. And you play them over and over to show that you're not enough anymore. But listen to me in this voice that sounds like God. I no longer judge you by the things you've done wrong. The way I judge you is by what I'm making you into, what I'm getting you ready for, and the person you're becoming. You see failing as proof that something is wrong with you. What I see is proof that you are being made into something. Not all the time. Failure is the other option, of course. It's a big part of how it was made. Every mistake you've made has taught you something important about life, about faith, about barriers, about being strong, and about yourself and other people. You haven't lost anything. It wasn't broken all the way. You did not mess up your fate. The road you're walking on isn't a straight line. In other words, it shapes, refines, and reveals. There is no battle with failing going on. You are having a challenging time dealing with the shame that comes with failing. You believe that your mistakes make you unfit to do the job. On the other hand, belief has never been tied to reason. The strongest people are those who rise after falling. They are people who push themselves up in different ways every time. Your disasters have made you softer in places where pride used to live. They have made your beliefs clearer. They changed the way you should go. They taught you how to be humble, kind, strong, and patient. They showed you what's important and what wasn't. I would describe you by how you've changed, not by the worst parts of your journey. Listen to me now. Failure shouldn't be used as a measure. Overall, it was never meant to be one. What you see as a failure often looks like a sign of progress to me. Things that look like loss are sometimes ways to stay safe. What looks like putting things off is actually regular teaching. What looks like failure could be precisely what gets you ready for what's to come. You haven't seen the whole picture yet. I do, though. So, I don't judge you by your mistakes. I judge you by the reason this brings to light through them. Let me pull you back down into the reality you're losing sight of. You've forgotten how powerful you are. You have been walking through life feeling worn out, down, defeated, and drained, thinking that you are somehow protecting yourself. You think your fatigue shows you're weak, soft, and not who you used to be. But pay attention to me. Being worn out doesn't always mean you're weak. That's more proof of determination. You forgot your energy because you've been using it all the time. You have forgotten the extent of your power because you have been battling struggles that remain hidden from others. You forgot how powerful you are because you were busy with things that could hurt many people. You forgot your power because you were too busy putting everything away without examining it. You think the energy is strong, loud, and can't be moved. But the real energy is when it's quiet. There is power that wakes you up, even after a difficult night's sleep. It is the force that stays with you even when your heart is heavy. It is the force that picks kindness over anger. It is the spirit that can forgive, and it is easier to shut down. It's the power that provides you hope again when desire has let you down before. The electricity keeps things going, even though you'd rather stop them. You don't give yourself enough credit because your energy hasn't always felt strong. You can't always feel strong, though. It's a fact that makes you who you are. Truth that stays true even when your feelings change. So now, in this God-like voice, I'm reminding you of your energy and mine. As your power goes out, mine goes up. When your bravery starts to fade, mine keeps you steady. Mind keeps you stable while your mind swirls. Your mind is all around you while your heart shakes. It was never meant for you to depend on your own power alone, since that's not always where it comes from. It's a reflection of something bigger inside you. You must have forgotten how strong you are. It's not that your habits have broken you, but rather that they have kept you going for too long without providing a break. But your power is coming back. Your bravery is coming back. Your clarity is coming back. As you ascend, you might discover that the strength you once possessed remains intact. It was almost like waiting to be able to think about it again. I want you to read this text and see how it cuts through every lie that has ever been told about you. People have told you how much they value you based on how they treated you. You were hurt more deeply than you allowed. Your price is based on who stayed, who left, who loved you, who let you down, who respected you, who ignored you, who helped you, and who broke you. You have let the unpredictable nature of human love determine how stable your identity is. In your heart, you've believed words that were never right. You have taken on rejection that wasn't yours to take on. You felt small and wrong when, forget about it, reflected your worth. However, I can say with absolute confidence, through this voice that sounds like God, that your worth does not come from people. It comes from me. You saw yourself as less valuable because someone obtained you easily. For some reason, you thought you were wrong because someone should love you right. The fact that someone left made you realize you're not outstanding enough. But the fact that they can't see your beauty doesn't take it away. Their blindness doesn't make your light less bright. Their limits do not make you less of an individual. People love flaws. They see things through lenses that are clouded by doubt, fear, trauma, distractions, immaturity, and false impressions. Their answer to you is a reflection of themselves, not you. You've discussed their actions as if they were true, though. You've taken their silence as a given conclusion. You've often seen, brush aside, used as a description. It's common for you to use their lack of continuity as evidence against you. But listen up, none of these things have ever had any power over your real worth. Before anyone ever met you, your real worth was set. Your worth is not fixed, can change and be eaten. It doesn't get better with praise or worse with rejection. It doesn't become better or worse when you praise or criticize it. It isn't shaped by who picks you or who ignores you. Your true worth comes from being who you are. Your true worth lies in your heart, your personality, your strength, your kindness, your depth, your spirit, and your complexity. No person is empowered to describe something they didn't make. Please listen to me again. Your worth is positive. Your real worth is full. Your worth stays the same. People who didn't treat you with the respect you deserved have damaged parts of you, and I'm repairing them. I'm going to tell you the truth, which you forgot. You are valuable just the way you are, not because of how other people treat you. You are a person with a lot more worth than the world has ever known. Please allow me to talk right away in the quiet parts of your mind. These are the areas where you have lost the ability to hear. These are the areas you have lost trust in. These are the places you buried because life taught you that being yourself was dangerous. Beyond hurts have kept parts of your soul quiet. This is the brave part of you that once dared to dream big. This was the side of you that spoke without considering the implications of what you were saying. This was the part of you that you once cherished without fear of betrayal. The part of you that people could count on without any problems. This was the part of you that freely expressed originality, passion, joy, and vulnerability. You did not deactivate those items because they were incorrect, but rather because they were managed improperly by someone. Someone disregarded your passion, leading you to suppress it. Someone turned down your weakness, and you built walls around it. You lowered your voice when someone made a negative comment about your face. Someone saw your weakness in how soft you were, so you toughened up to hide it. Now you walk through life that is present but partly quiet. Still alive, but not fully awakened yet. But listen to me. I'm waking up the parts of you that have been sleeping. I'm not doing this to show you, but rather to heal you. I'm igniting your creative spark. Your mind used to be full of thoughts, but now you think they're too unrealistic. I'm making your voice come back. They were the ones who spoke honestly before you learned to filter your words. When I wake you up, I bring back your ardor, that burning drive that you had before life told you to be reasonable. I'm bringing out your softness, the tenderness you hid because the business thought it made you weak. I'm waking up your bravery, the strength that came up in you naturally before worry made you ready to listen to warnings. These parts of you have not died. They were in so much pain that they fell asleep. At first, you might not want to do it because reopening something that was hurt feels insecure. But awareness is often needed for healing. You're not going back to how you were. Here, your soul talks again, your heart feels again, and your voice carries again. You are being delivered into a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of yourself. The sector wants the whole you, not just the quiet you. You also need to be whole. This awakening might be gentle. It will arrive in waves, accompanied by unexpected proposals, goals you once held but now no longer pursue, and stirrings of bravery that simultaneously feel fresh and strangely familiar. These feelings aren't made up. They bring life back. They are the parts of you that grow back over time when things get quiet. Allow me to offer insight into the profound suffering you experience. You don't always have to give up on restoration. You have all started to think that maybe that is just who you are now. No matter how long you've been hurting, how deeply you've been hurt, how stuck you felt, or how many times you've tried to heal and ended up right back where you started. Hurt, abused, scarred, mentally worn out, emotionally tired, spiritually numb, and physically worn out. You think to yourself, maybe this wound will never heal. Or maybe I'll always feel this weight. Perhaps I've gone too far. But these thoughts are lies that come from being worn out, not truths that come from the possibility of something happening. Now, in this voice that sounds like the voice of God, I'm saying what you have been having a hard time accepting. You can't help but see that I am recovering you right now. Recovery sometimes happens at expected, undramatic moments. Every once in a while. It happens slowly and quietly, like dawn coming over the horizon. When you're getting better, you might feel a softer heart, calmer thoughts, a clearer boundary, a lighter spirit, and a rush of wishes that you can't explain. Occasionally, the healing process starts before you even realize it. Because the first step to healing is simple. Your heart has to become open to the idea that you can get better. And that willingness has already started to stir in you, whether you know it or not. You're getting better to the point where you can't stand what used to break you. In the way that you want peace more than chaos, you're healing on the inside. You're healing by learning how to rest instead of pushing. That you're getting better means that you value yourself again, even though it's quiet. As you heal on the inside, your spirit is getting closer to being whole. Your past, your mistakes, your trauma, or your timeline don't have to stop you from healing. Getting better is not praise. It's your birthright, and you're moving toward it. It won't erase your story to peel. It will be fixed. Your scars will not go away when you heal. It will remind you of what you made it through. No longer will healing make lives perfect. Because you are already moving toward it, it will make your heart whole. Every breath, every moment of surrender, every shift in perspective, every breakthrough, every letting go, and every beating of your heart is proof that you are getting better. Pay attention. You're not too broken to get better. You are in the system of coming back to life. You are now going through the healing you doubted at first. If you pay close attention, you will uncover the truth that has remained concealed for years. You've been pleading, begging, and looking for strength as if it were something outside of you that you needed to get. It sounds like you thought about electricity as a sudden surge falling on you from above when you said, "If I had been handier, I would have been stronger, and I would have dealt with this." Or, "If you gave me energy, I would not feel so overwhelmed." But listen to me in this voice that sounds like God and sees every part of your journey. Energy doesn't appear spontaneously. It's something I've been slowly building up in you during all of your difficult times. Power isn't something that happens. Strength is something you make. You have been below the world for longer than you thought. You asked for energy, but strength showed up in the form of the nights you cried, but still got up the next morning. You wanted energy, but you got the will to keep going despite being exhausted. You asked for strength, but it showed up because of the limit you set after years of being afraid and disappointing other people. You asked for strength, and it showed up every second that you probably did give up. You asked for electricity, even when giving up seemed easier. But there was power in the tears, the prayers, the anger, the silence, the pushing forward, the healing, the breaking open, and the construction of your soul. You thought that energy meant there wasn't any fighting, but electricity is the patience that leads to more fighting within a person. You thought power meant being sure of yourself, but it really means choosing to transport even when you're not sure. Your idea of strength changed into being emotionally unbeatable, but energy is being open and vulnerable at the same time. Your idea of energy changed into perfection, but energy is what makes things strong. You're also a lot stronger than you think. I have been making you stronger so that you don't break when things get tough. Your energy is grounded in reality, not in worry. This strength is capable of continuously increasing. Because you feel fatigued, you may believe you are weak, however. Exhaustion does not equate to weakness. That's proof that you've been strong for too long without taking a break. Feeling things, like what you saw, doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. Your sensitivity is emerging as you heal. You think you studied, but you are still open to things because you can feel them deeply. But the level of intensity isn't a weakness. There's hope. It's people. Listen to me. You have more power than ever before. Your position was based on foundations that were built over fire. When you asked for electricity, I gave it to you with endurance instead of ease. Not with an instant fix, though. With long-lasting strength. And being strong is now a part of who you are. You're not looking for energy. You are becoming it. Let me talk to you right away about your confusion. The stress you've experienced recently has led you to question everything. You notice that you're lost. You feel like you've gotten too far away from where you should be. You believe that the path you are on is a mistake, an accident, a wrongdoing from a long time ago, or a mistake. You look back at your choices and are surprised at how far you went off track. You look at doors that are closed and think that you got the signals wrong. When you see delays, you know you failed. When you see change, you know you'll miss something. You are not lost, though. Pay attention to what I say. You're being sent somewhere else. Moving forward doesn't feel easy right now. Some words that come to mind are doubt, stillness, change, pause, waiting, and being pushed into unknown territory. That doesn't mean you've lost your way, though. It's important that better things are being planned. It's easy to think that you studied, and that feeling lost means you're failing. But feeling lost is often the first sign of change. You are not being punished. You are being put in a certain position. Many individuals fail to distinguish between being lost and being guided towards a new path. Being lost seems like being abandoned, but being redirected feels like being in a new place. You are no longer alone. You're not at all where you used to be. That's because who you're becoming can't be part of who you were before. You're no longer comfortable in places you stayed too long. You're no longer interested in relationships that made you feel small. You're no longer able to do things that are bad for your identity. You're no longer interested in the versions of yourself you made in survival mode. And boom, real, deep, reversible growth needs movement. It needs to be moved. It tells you to let go. It needs someone to lead you into new territory. That being said, you thought this steerage was lost because it feels strange. Just pay attention to me. This discomfort has deep roots. This lack of certainty is realignment. This restlessness is a sign. The purpose of this transition is clear. You're not lost and confused. You're getting closer to your goal. You didn't just wake up with these dreams. These dreams serve as guiding indicators. The dreams that won't go away when you're by yourself aren't a mistake. Those are road signs. The things that push you forward aren't distractions. They are invites. You shouldn't feel bad about the closed doors you keep lamenting. There may be safety in them. I know you want to be clear. I know you need facts. I comprehend your desire for a comprehensive understanding. But I am presenting it to you incrementally. You're not unworthy of the big picture. You're being shaped by walking it out. You saw yourself getting lost. But if you could see what I see in this voice of symbols, you'd know that you're precisely where you need to be for the next part of your future to unfold. Redirection is not always failure. That's what the plan is. Allow me to enter the most peaceful area of your heart. This is the part of your heart that feels remote, vulnerable, and visible. You've been fighting away in silence. You fought deep battles, hidden battles, and battles that no one knows about because you didn't want to burden everyone, didn't trust everyone enough to share, thought you needed to be strong, or thought no one would understand. You've kept your feelings hidden behind a calm face. You held back tears to keep other people from crying. You sucked up pain so no one would be scared. Because you thought you didn't want to. You've been through storms by yourself. But listen to this voice that sounds like God. You have never fought a single conflict by yourself. Even though you thought no one cared and you felt alone. You were never by yourself, even when you thought you were being left behind. Right now, not for a beat. I wasn't seen by you. You felt me though. When you somehow kept yourself together. You knew I was there when you suddenly had the energy to do something you thought you couldn't. You could feel me when the stress went away for a moment. The act of reading appeared unexpected, yet you sensed my presence. You could feel me while your heart softened instead of getting harder. You knew I was there when peace touched you for no reason. That was me being there. I was quiet, steady, and constant, fighting beneath your floor, lifting your spirits when your body felt weak, keeping your heart beating when your emotions were heavy, and guiding your thoughts when your mind began to spiral. I saw the battles you didn't mention. I could see your worries in the back of your smile. I saw the stress that was hiding behind how strong you were. In the dark, I saw the questions you asked. I saw the pain you tried to hide. I saw the times you almost broke but didn't. I fought with you each time, not around you or above you. You've been stronger than you think. It's not because you've put pressure on yourself to be stronger, but rather because you've never used your own power to fight before. You think the victory isn't massive, because no one else saw the battle. But I saw it, and I admired every second you drove through it. Listen to me. You are no longer stopping me by myself. I'm no longer stopping you. You won't be able to fight alone in the future either. I'm with you. In the silence, chaos, stress, worry, war, and times when you can't speak, someone is near. You'll never have to fight without me, because I'll always be there for you. Now is the time to listen to me with all of your worn heart, because this truth is going to reach deep inside you. Your emotional breath has been safe, not literally anymore, but spiritually and mentally, in the innermost parts of your being. Your thoughts have been traumatic, your chest has been heavy, and your spirit has been on edge. It feels like letting go of even a small part of what you bring could break everything around you apart, because you have convinced yourself that you must maintain composure at all times. You are consistently vigilant, resilient, composed, and attentive. In spite of everything, your soul has been begging for a long, honest breath out. You've been holding your breath because you're afraid that the life you've been holding together so tightly will fall apart if you let down your guard, if you stop being ready for impact, if you stop contemplating the worst-case scenarios. But listen to this creative, divine voice that knows you better than you know yourself. You were not meant to spend your whole life getting ready for undesirable things to happen. You were not supposed to be in a constant state of emotional stress. You were not supposed to be on high alert for disasters during times that are supposed to be peaceful. You hold your breath because the other side taught you to be ready for pain. Because things have gone wrong before, you hold your breath. Sometimes, just when you believed everything was fine, an unexpected event occurred. Thereby, your heart learned to stay alert, guarded, and always ready to protect itself from sadness. But that survival mechanism, the most important one, is now taking away the life you're supposed to enjoy. It keeps your dwelling's life going, so you're always ready for a hurricane, and don't notice that it's daylight outside. It stops you from enjoying happiness, being safe, believing in benefits, and relaxing in a gift moment. But now I'm going to teach you something new. You can let out a breath without losing control. You can melt without getting lost. You can rest without having to worry about the sector moving away. You could stop getting ready for bad things to happen and start getting peace. The things you're afraid will fall apart are still with me. I'm securing what you think you studied and depend on completely for your alertness. I'm guarding what you have with tired hands because I care about it. You no longer need to calm your soul. Be careful not to hold your feelings in. It was possible to breathe again, deeply, fully, and properly. You will feel something wholly awaken inside you as you let out small amounts of peace. Relax. You'll feel calm and at ease for the first time in years. A sense of ease that isn't careless but is rooted. You will experience a sense of peace of mind, knowing that you are not alone in safeguarding your lifestyles. At that very moment, your breath comes back, in which your heart starts to relax, where your spirit finally sits down inside your body and says, I'm safe. Let me tell you a truth that will change your whole story. You thought that your pain disqualified you. You looked at your wounds, scars, regrets, disasters, heartbreaks, and dark nights of the soul, and decided that these things made you much less worthy, much less chosen, and much less valuable. You've told yourself, someone with my background can't rise, someone with my baggage can't lead, or someone who has been through what I have can't be used for something important. You've been told a lie that brokenness takes away motivation. You thought that your pain meant you were too flawed to live the life you want. But listen to this voice that sounds like God and can see every part of your heart. Your pain doesn't give you a pass. It prepares you ready. You have empathy that can't be taught because of your pain. Your pain made you strong in a way that can't be faked. One thing you learned from your pain that you can't learn from comfort is how. Your pain gave you a level of intensity that can't be built up during easy times. Your pain provides you inner strength that other people do a great job of pretending they have. Things that should have broken you didn't. Your soul will forever remember the moments you experienced. But those marks didn't turn into your jail. They have helped you see things better. They took charge of you. They have become your kind. They have helped you really understand other people. You could help, comfort, encourage, and strengthen the wealthy people who were walking on roads you had already been on. The pain you've been through has made you a different person, with a deeper life, a stronger heart, and a more complete spirit. You saw that pain made you better, not worse. You saw pain make you weak, but it also woke you up. Instead of disqualifying you, you think pain armed you. There is a version of you rising right now that is stronger, smarter, more grounded, more caring, and more effective than ever. And that part of you isn't always rising despite your pain. Sometimes it's because of it. You're not going into purpose as someone who has never been hurt or hurt anyone else. This is your chance to join the cause as someone who knows truth. And the truth is what provides you power. You were no longer far from the future when you had an ache. You rushed into it because of pain. Let me discuss the anger that has been building up inside you. You have wrong wait times for rejections. You thought that prayers that were not answered were rejects. You've seen waiting seasons as signs that catastrophic things are about to happen. You've examined your life and decided that something is wrong with you, your path, or your future. You've asked yourself, why is it taking so long to say goodbye? Or why hasn't this happened for me? Or why do other people get what I've prayed for while I keep waiting? Delays have made you feel forgotten, overworked, and like your dreams are slipping away. But pay close attention, your delays are not denials. They are alignment, coaching, and safety. When you think about the slow motion method, you might think that nothing is happening, but growth often happens in the background and isn't seen for a long time. The silence method may seem quiet, but that's when the biggest changes happen in your life. You think that waiting is a punishment, but it's actually a divine arrangement of events, timing, maturity, readiness, and possibility. There are things you wanted when your heart wasn't ready for them. There are doors you wanted to walk through before your mind was stable enough to handle them. There are benefits to you being long that would have hit you if they came too quickly. There are relationships you wanted that needed more healing, either in you, in them, or in both of you. Saying not yet is sometimes the right thing at the right time, not always rejection. It's all part of divine timing, far alignment, and guidance wrapped in patience. You feel caught because something inside you is growing past its current season. You feel stressed because you are outgrowing what used to fit. You feel impatient because you could feel what's coming before you may see it. That isn't stagnation, it's a mild transition. It's the moment before the shift, and it's much bigger than the previous leap forward. So listen to me. Everything has been denied, wasted, or delayed for a reason. What's coming is more than you lost, prayed for, or expected. Delays aren't the end of your story. They're what make the next chapter possible. Hear me with all the force of a fact that has been waiting years to reach you. You've been taking on responsibilities that don't belong to you. You've taken on other people's fears, disappointments, expectations, recovery, reactions, and being as if you were someone else's heartkeeper. You took on roles that you weren't supposed to fill, like the fixer, the mediator, the provider, the rescuer, or the person who soaks up stress so others don't feel it. You're the only one who stays strong so that others don't fall. You carry burdens that no one even notices. And even though you've done these actions out of love, loyalty, and a deep desire for peace, these duties have worn you down in ways that you can't put into words. But listen to me clearly in this divine like voice full of compassion and authority. I'm freeing you from the weight that was never meant to rest on your shoulders. You think you studied. It's more noble to hold all of us. You think it's more honorable to always say yes and give up your own comfort for the sake of others. But sometimes what you call duty is really fear. Fear of disappointing someone, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being considered selfish, fear of being replaced, and fear of losing connection. And so you take on more than your spirit was ever meant to hold. You fix what isn't your job, take on what isn't yours, and hold together what should fall apart. You feel responsible for everyone around you while ignoring your heart. But listen up, you can't save everyone, bring everyone together, or heal everyone. That's not your calling or your burden. The duties that weigh you down aren't the ones I gave you. You got them from fear, pressure, subculture, family traditions, and old wounds. Your value is in who you are, not what you have. And now I'm easing the loads that were pulling you down, pushing you past your limits, stealing your joy, and making you feel old. I'm giving you the freedom to breathe, relax, and take care of your soul without feeling guilty. At first, this release will feel strange. You may feel self-centered as you start to protect your peace. You may feel responsible when you say no. You may feel uncomfortable as you stop overextending yourself. But these feelings are not signs you are doing something wrong. They're signs you are healing from a lifetime of emotional over-duty. I am teaching you to carry only what is yours. Let others carry their growth. Remember that the world won't fall apart if you relax. Your soul was never meant to live in a state of constant overextension. This is the time when you learn how to let go of what doesn't belong to you, and finally feel how light your life was meant to be. Let me talk right away about the fear that has kept you from being smaller than your destiny. You have dimmed your light. This is not because you lack brilliance, but rather because you have learned to conceal it. You've become quieter, softer, much less seen, less expressive, and much less radiant because you were afraid of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood. You've lived with the idea that shining fully would cost you relationships or acceptance. Others have told you directly or indirectly that being too bright makes them uncomfortable, that being too sure of yourself looks cocky, that being too skilled is dangerous, that being too happy is childish, and that being too passionate is too much. So you cut down on parts of yourself, sank into the background, and downplayed your gifts. You have become a watered down version of yourself to fit in places that weren't meant for you. But listen to me this way if I whisper. I'm telling you to polish without apologizing. Your light wasn't meant to be hidden. It was meant to guide, encourage, awaken, and light up. Your mind is full of purpose. Your presence has an impact, and it includes change. Dimming yourself harms others and denies your sector what you offer. This is not how you were meant to live. You were meant to stand out with humility, electricity, and authenticity. You were made with a radiance that isn't loud but powerful, no longer boastful but plain. Every time you shrink to avoid judgment, a part of your soul tightens. Every time you quiet your voice to avoid war, your spirit dims. Every time you downplay your accomplishments, something inside you mourns. You were not meant to live pushed into the shadows. People who are scared of your light are not in line with your elevation. It's time to polish again, to talk clearly, to dream big, to walk with confidence, and to live openly, not for attention, but for alignment. I applaud with spoken words, not for effect, but for purpose. You shine not to show something, but because it's who you are. Your light honors the one who gave it to you. Your softness frees people who have been afraid to improve themselves, and it opens hearts. So listen to me, shine. Shine fully, shine freely, shine boldly, shine lightly, Shine on your way. You should shine at your own pace, to your own unique expression. Shine without apologizing. Those destined for your company will ascend alongside you, not retreat. That's when you stop hiding your brilliance and become who you were meant to be. Let me discuss the private wound you carry. This wound has shaped your relationships, your expectations, your limits, and your self-perception. You have thought that you had to earn love. To be loved, you had to perform. To be loved, you have to show how valuable you are. To be cherished, you have to be kind, patient, selfless, attractive, quiet, aware of your needs, and strong even when you're hurt and tired. Somewhere along your journey, you learned that love was conditional, that approval depended on behavior, and that being chosen required perfection. Based on this belief, you formed a survival pattern. If I'm trustworthy enough, they may stay. If I'm strong enough, they may want me. If I'm attractive enough, they may not become bored. If I'm everything they want, I might finally be loved. But listen to this divine, like voice that sees the truth behind every wound. You were never supposed to earn love. You had been meant to receive it freely, without bargaining, without bending, without selling yourself, without buying love with pieces of your soul. Real love is steady and kind. Real love stays with you not because you are perfect, but because you are valued. The love you grew up wanting, the love you begged for emotionally, and the love you tried to buy by giving up things you wanted became human love by using human boundaries. But the love I'm talking about now, the love I offer in this devotional expression, is different. It doesn't fluctuate solely on your performance. It endures through arguments, mistakes, and feelings of inadequacy. My love isn't fragile, conditional, or earned. It's built into you. You have emotional scars because you spent years trying to earn what you needed to be given. You were taught that love is a transactional thing. But I'm changing your mind. I'm teaching you that you don't have to prove yourself to be loved or chosen. You don't have to give up your wants in order to stay worthy. Love was never meant to value you for your identity. Love was meant to nurture it. As this truth sinks in, something inside you will start to loosen, soften, and rest. You will stop chasing love and start receiving it. You will stop fearing abandonment and start feeling like you belong. You will stop conforming to others and start being yourself. And love, real love, will discover you there. Listen to me with all the weight of the exhaustion you've been hiding. You've been walking on MP for too long, pouring into other people emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically while ignoring the fact that your own well has been drying up. You've encouraged others while feeling less supported. People have told you they understand how painful it is to carry your wounds in silence. You have sacrificed parts of yourself to support others, yet no one perceives the burden on your chest. When you finally find solitude, you become the strong one, the reliable one, the constant one, the helper, the healer, and the problem solver. But underneath that, you've been tired in ways that sleep doesn't cure. You've been tired in ways that you don't talk about. I'm telling you in a loving and firm voice, stop trying to pour from what you don't have. Your soul needs replenishment, your heart needs rest, and your spirit needs healing. You've mistaken overextension for loyalty, burnout for obligation, and romance for exhaustion. You've convinced yourself that taking care of yourself is selfish, resting is a weakness, and slowing down means you're failing those who depend on you. But listen up, your cost doesn't come from how much you do. It doesn't matter how much you sacrifice or how many responsibilities you take on. You can't save the arena if you don't take care of yourself. You must fill up your own tank to be a constant source of strength. Even the kindest hearts need to be fed. Even the strongest souls need quiet times. Even the toughest warriors need time to heal. Your exhaustion isn't a flaw. It's a sign that you were giving from a place that needs to be refilled before it runs out. Some signs show that you've ignored your own needs to please others. Others show that you've been in survival mode for a long time after the danger has passed. Still others show that you've been working from dependence instead of wholeness. Now I'm calling you to pause. Not because you're failing, but because you deserve it. I'm telling you to stop trying to be everything for everyone but yourself and focus on your heart, your recovery, and your breath. As you learn how to recharge your soul, you'll discover something amazing. Rest doesn't make you less. It makes you whole again. Let me speak directly into the annoying rhythm that has been driving your life. You've been moving too quickly, not because you enjoy the pace, but because you're afraid of what will happen if you slow down. You're scared of the mind that could catch up with you, the emotions that would floor you, the silence that will reveal what you've been trying to hide, losing control, losing momentum, and losing relevance. Listen to me in this symbolic, div-like voice that sees the truth beneath your rushing. Slowing down will keep your life from falling apart. You think you learned that steady motion equals electricity, but consistent motion is usually a sign of inner unrest. You learned that productivity equals motivation, but motivation is seen in clarity, not speed. You learned that urgency equals importance, but urgency can be a cover for worry. Worry of failure, worry of stillness, and worry of dealing with yourself. You have taught your mind to think that stopping is dangerous, that relaxing is irresponsible, and that pausing is weak. But listen to me. Relaxation is expertise, and stillness is alignment. Pulling does not mean dropping, it means positioning. You do not have to run every day like you're trying to avoid disaster. You do not have to push yourself to show what you're really worth. You would rather not live with the stress of holding everything together. Life should feel like a race you can win. Your soul is not meant to stay in a constant state of urgency. You are allowed to slowly go down. You can take a deep breath and keep moving at a pace that is beneficial for your mental and emotional health. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means getting closer to them with clarity instead of chaos. Slowing down doesn't mean losing speed. It means getting closer to your goal. Slowing down doesn't mean falling behind. It means getting back on track. As you slowly slow down, you start to notice what's important: your wants. Your rushing has drowned out your intuition and steering. And here's the truth your heart has been longing for. The life that's meant for you doesn't need you to work yourself torn apart to get it. What's meant to be for you won't fall apart because you stopped. What's in line with your destiny won't disappear if you rest. Slow down. Not to stop dwelling, but to start dwelling properly. Listen to me now, because this truth will free parts of you that have been locked for years. You have been afraid to face your feelings. You've pushed them down, buried them, ignored them, numbed them, rationalized them, and ignored them because facing them felt too overwhelming, too messy, and too painful. While you were hurting, you told yourself you were fine, but you actually cared. You told yourself to keep going even though your heart was still bleeding. You told yourself to be strong when what you really needed to do was be honest. But hiding your emotions doesn't protect you. It just slows down healing. So now, with this divine-like voice, I'm leading you into emotional honesty. Not to show your wounds, but to free you from them. You learn how to hide your emotions because someone told you they were too much. You learn how to hide your tears because someone taught you that being vulnerable is weak. You learn how to silence your disappointment because you think it makes you a burden. You learned how to hide your anger because you were afraid of fighting. And you learned how to swallow your disappointment because you didn't think you were worthy enough to show it. But the truth is that your emotions are not your enemy. They're your guides to healing and growth. You must feel to heal, and you must acknowledge pain to change. You can't grow while carrying unspoken pain. Emotional honesty isn't about dwelling on your feelings. It's about recognizing them in order to move, shift, and let go. Nothing heals in the dark. I'm with you in this. I'm not asking you to face everything right now. I'm gently, patiently, and compassionately leading you to the places you have avoided. I'm helping you name the hurt that shaped your formative years. I'm helping you feel the grief you put off. I'm helping you give up the anger you were taught to hide. I'm helping you accept the sadness you never let yourself fully experience. I help you heal by showing you the feelings behind your silence instead of just being with you. You're entering a new era of emotional honesty. Not fragile honesty, but grounded honesty. Not chaotic honesty, but loose honesty. You are learning to feel without being beaten, to be clear without fear, and to let go without shame. As you embody this honesty, you'll find a part of yourself that you thought you had lost a long time ago. This is the start of emotional freedom, and your heart can finally breathe again. You've been carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. You've replayed moments from the past, thinking you should have seen better, performed better, reacted differently, fixed things you didn't damage, avoided things you had no control over, and saved people who didn't want to be saved. You blamed yourself for other people's anger, choices, insecurities, disappointments, and changes in behavior, as if it were your job to control something that was never yours. And now, in this divine, like voice that sees the deeper truth, I'm releasing you from false guilt. You've carried guilt from misunderstanding, manipulation, fear, and trying to protect others at the expense of yourself. You blame yourself because you care, and because you were taught to take emotional responsibility for other people. You blame yourself because you learned as a child that love should bear the blame. Peace should require you to sacrifice your own needs, and stability should bear the burden to prevent conflict. You blame yourself for things you probably didn't do, for results you couldn't change, and for hurts you didn't cause. For years you said, maybe it's my fault. I should have tried to be harder. They might not have left if I were better. It's possible that I'm the reason why the motivation went bad. But these thoughts are lies. Habits that taught you to stay alive by blaming yourself led to lies. Please listen to me. You are not responsible for what other people choose to do. You have nothing to do with their sadness. You are not responsible for their inability to love you well. Because of their mental instability, you are not responsible. You are not responsible for the choices they make. Their responses were the wounds that hadn't healed yet. You are responsible for your heart, your growth, your healing, and your own goals, not theirs. You are stuck in shame you don't deserve because of fake guilt. It made you feel like you weren't good enough, even though you were brave. It has made you question how charitable you are, even though your heart has always been inclined toward kindness. During the first rate, it made you question the choices you made. You may wish you knew what you knew. You're no longer having to do that. Following this launch will be like finally letting out a breath after years of stress. You're moving away from blame and toward being simple to read. You are leaving guilt behind and entering the truth. You are leaving shame behind and entering freedom. As this truth sinks into your heart, you will begin to see the past in a different way. This time, you will see the past not as a list of mistakes, but as a journey of growth, learning, and strength. I forgive you. You're not tied down. You will soon have the opportunity to refrain from apologizing for matters that were not your responsibility. Let me talk to you straight about the stress you've been feeling. There is a conflict between the person you're evolving into and the person you've been shielding. You were scared to grow up around some people. You felt a pull from within to rise, heal, grow up, and fit in. You haven't done it yet because you're afraid of how much that boom will cost you. You've held on to some friendships, links, and attachments for a long time that don't fit with who you're becoming. Of course, you hold on to them to avoid killing other people, going to war, being alone, and feeling like you're leaving the beyond. But listen to me in this voice that sounds like God. Boom will always need to be separated. Not purposely, but because they were out of place. It's not because you're superior to everyone else, but rather because you're evolving into a unique individual. You're done with talks that wear you down. You're no longer comfortable in places that hold you back. You've passed relationships that are based on old versions of yourself. People who choose your pain over your healing are no longer a part of your life. You're too big for relationships that depended on you staying small. You're no longer interested in relationships that are based on guilt instead of growth. Being this way is not treason either. It's a huge difference. You are changing, and your spirit can't grow in places where you're told to be less than you are. You shouldn't worry about being apart. You're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of not being heard. You're afraid of appearing disloyal. You're afraid of me being by myself. But pay attention to this. Now, not everyone can cross where you're going. Everybody grows at their speed. That being said, not everyone can honor your restoration. We won't all be your lifelong companions anymore. Some people were only meant to be here for a short time, not forever. Some relationships were meant to help you stay alive, not decide your fate. A few of the connections have been steps, not places. When it's time to let go, your soul knows. The weight you feel around some people isn't just in your head. Your intuition is alerting you to the shift in the season. Keeping in touch with things you've grown out of will easily hold you in place. And this is the truth. Letting go doesn't mean giving up love. It was a tribute to Boom. That's why it chose alignment over attachment. It's crucial to trust that the individuals destined for your life will foster your growth, not impede it. Getting rid of what doesn't work for you right now makes room for what does. That means you're making room for beneficial relationships. You make room for stronger bonds. These changes are making room for people who are happy about your growth and no longer dislike it. You make room for a future where growing up won't be a risk but a blessing. You are not leaving people behind. You're moving forward. And the people who are meant to meet you may be there. Let me tell you a fact that might make you think about how relationships work in a new way. You feel stress because you want to be valued. You thought for years that if people wanted you emotionally, financially, practically, or spiritually, you should remember. You thought your worth was the same as how useful you were. You linked love to being dependent. You confused belonging with being an important part. You gave and gave until you were exhausted, because you were afraid that if they didn't need you, they would stop wanting you. But listen to me in this voice. It sounds like the voice of God. Being valued is not the same as being needed. People need things from you because you are strong, reliable, compassionate, intuitive, and successful. But just because they need you doesn't mean they always love you. Some people want you because you make them feel whole. Some people need you because you help them cope with their disorder. Some people need you because you make their lives easier. Some individuals seek your assistance because you are undertaking a responsibility they prefer to avoid. Some people need you because you take care of their emotions when they can't. But none of that means they will feel your soul, your heart, your presence, your needs, your problems, or your health. Individuals ought to desire your company rather than merely exploit you. They should cherish you rather than simply tolerate your presence. They should truly recognize you rather than solely rely on you. You are checked out based on who you are, not what you do. You now understand that the extent of your sacrifices does not necessarily reflect the depth of your love for someone. Connection isn't built on how much you carry. How much you offer doesn't determine your real worth. In real relationships, you don't have to give up everything to stay together. Self-neglect is not a requirement for real love. Actual price doesn't come from taking on too much. This awakening might also be painful, because it shows you where you've been going without paying attention. It shows the imbalances you tried to explain. It faces the fact that you probably stopped some relationships from lasting because you did all the work. Such behavior isn't always meant to bother you, though. It's meant to make you lose. You are being taught to stop connecting your identity to how useful you are. You are being told not to think that your worth depends on how much work you get done. You're learning that you need to get back as much as you gave. Now, let's delve into the underlying reality. When you separate your worth from how useful you are, you make room for relationships based on honesty, love, and mutual respect. People who want what you have to offer no longer come to you. You attract people who appreciate your uniqueness. What your heart has been longing for all along is that level of connection. Pay close attention to what I say, as if it were something you haven't noticed in a long time. You have been ignoring the voice inside your head that told you things weren't right, weren't safe, weren't aligned, or were unhealthy through nudges, hesitations, instincts, gut feelings, internal alarms, and quiet whispers. You shut down the people who spoke out, though, because you didn't believe yourself. If you had done so, you would not have needed to disrupt the peace or disappoint everyone. You would have simply believed that you were overthinking. However, heed this voice that resembles that of a divine entity. The internal voice you have suppressed has transformed into my speaking to you. No longer through thunder or severe symptoms, but through a gentle shift in direction, a profound understanding, or intuition that seemed too wise to be random. You did not pay attention to those warnings. You didn't contemplate those uncomfortable feelings. When something went wrong, you didn't believe in the weight in your chest. When something was right, you did believe the sudden clarity. It was astonishing how intensely you experienced stress each time you returned to a place you had outgrown. Although I have been guiding you from within, my intention is not to confuse but to safeguard you. The voice inside your head is not against you. Use it as a guide. However, you have shut it down because the world taught you to doubt yourself, ignore your gut, and believe what people smarter than you think about your own judgment. It was when you were young that you learned to ignore your inner voice and your feelings. In relationships, where manipulation made you question your truth, you learned to ignore it. It taught you to ignore it in places that wanted conformity more than authenticity. You learn how to ignore it because being honest with yourself once hurt quite badly. But ignoring your inner voice has made you tired, hurt, put things off, and get out of sync. It's not because you failed, but because you stopped listening to the advice that was always there. Now pay attention to me. I'm re-establishing your link to your inner knowing. You can trust your instincts, insight, and intuition. Every time something feels heavy, that's not tension anymore, it's out of place. Not by accident. When something feels light, that means it's clear. When you feel a soft no, that's protection. If you feel a quiet, yes, this is the course for you. The voice inside you will get louder as the season changes. It's not because of the exchange of circumstances, but because you're finally listening. You might start to agree with yourself again. Have faith in your judgment again. Believe in your understanding once more. As you do that, you'll see where you're going. Your choices will be stronger. You will have faith again. You will also be in line with the fact that you were buried right away. You should never walk around without looking. Your inner voice had been telling you what to do the whole time. Let me whisper something to the part of you that shakes when you think you're becoming extra. You've been scared of your skills, your greatness, your usefulness, your energy, your calling, and the life you think you were meant to live. Now it's not because it's too big, it's because it feels too real, too possible, and too in tune with your deepest self. In your best times, you need to catch glimpses of the person you can become. Thereafter, you definitely pulled your lower back, because that identity was too much for you to handle. What if I fail? What if I can't handle it? You asked yourself. What if I'm not good enough? What if it changes everything? What if people don't support me? This experience made you stay small, calm, and hidden. But please listen to me with this voice that sounds like God. Let me push you toward the future you were meant to have. Because the person you've become is too powerful to stay dormant. Your ability scares you because it requires you to change. It needs to heal. It calls for bravery. It needs to be done. It means letting go of identities you used to hold on to. It means getting out of comfort zones that feel familiar but suffocating. But allow me to explain. Being able to do things isn't always a burden. It's really far away. It's the plan for the person you were always meant to be. It's the echo of a motive deep inside your soul. Your fate is pushing you forward in a way that you can't fight. You're scared now, not because you don't think you have enough potential, but because you have never seen yourself fully unlocked. You have never lived without turning down the light. You were always afraid of being judged when you moved. Your presents have never been able to slide around freely. You've never used your whole voice when you talk. You've never taken advantage of chances that are right for you. But now, your power is waking up with a force that can't be stopped. No longer am I pushing you violently, but I am pushing you on purpose. I am guiding you out of a stagnant state. I'm making you feel things that you might not forget. I am igniting your creativity, courage, confidence, and drive. Your steps are being lined up with opportunities that require you to push yourself up. Fear is whispering that you're not ready, but I'm whispering louder. You're ready. You're ready now, not because you feel ready, but because everything inside you is moving in the right direction. You'll walk right into the life you were meant to have. It wasn't a coincidence. It was because I woke up. And you might see something deep when you step into that future. You've always been able to do things. Let me talk to you through the loneliness you've wrapped around your heart. You have to want to get better on your own. You've been keeping your wounds to yourself, dealing with your pain in silence, and navigating the dark side of your emotions without letting anyone close enough to see how awful things really are for you. You have convinced yourself that you need to take care of your recovery. You must solve, suppress, and win it all alone. However, this is the truth. Recovery was never meant to be a journey that you took by yourself, mentally or spiritually, but now emotionally and spiritually. You were not created to heal your soul by yourself. Now, with this voice that sounds like the voice of God, I'm calling you out of the loneliness you thought was energy. You went away because you didn't want to be a burden on everyone. You stepped back because you were afraid of being misunderstood. You shut yourself off because you've been taught that being weak means being open and vulnerable. You left because you didn't trust everyone with your story. You shut yourself off because you didn't want to confront the emotional connection that often happens. But recovery can't grow while people are hidden. To heal, you need to be kind. Protection is needed for restoration. For recovery, you need to connect. Recovery needs me to be there. That's yours. Becoming smaller does not help you get better. Being seen helps you heal. Being held helps you become better. Being helped helps you heal. You get better by giving people comfort in a way that makes worry unnecessary. Through people, moments, insights, conversations, and inner nudges. I've been trying to send you help. You turned down that help, though, because you believed that healing on its own made you stronger. But getting better on your own makes you stronger. When you heal together, you become whole. Now I'm going to point you toward community, connection, and relationships that feed rather than feed the brain. Closer to people who will keep an open space for your heart without judging it, and toward safe places where your emotions can breathe instead of hiding. In the direction of aid that makes things stronger instead of weaker. You are not weak enough to desire other people. You are a person. The relationship is making you feel stressed. People are meant to connect with you. Restoration isn't a battle between people. It is a long ago beneficial adventure. And as you let other people into your way, you'll learn something holy. Your wounds aren't too severe. The way you feel isn't too heavy. Your story isn't always too difficult to understand. You should never have to heal by yourself. And now you won't listen to me because of a truth you've been running away from. You're scared to say what you really want. Not ready to say what your goals are. You are reluctant to express your desires openly. You're afraid to admit that your dreams are calling to you. They fear that deviating from their comfort zone will portray them as ungrateful, unrealistic, selfish, or naive. They're afraid that if you say what they want, they'll let you down again. Therefore, your deepest goals are hidden away under layers of duty, fear, and the need to feel emotionally safe. But now, listen to me in this voice that sounds like God. Your choice doesn't always cause trouble. It is not a compass at all. Your choice is not a flaw. It is a real revelation. Your desire doesn't weigh you down. It's where your destiny starts. You think choice is risky because people immediately made fun of you for looking too much. Or, life once punished you for having too big of dreams. You have told yourself, I don't need this. It's too late, too big, not useful, I'm not worthy, and it will never happen for me. But the truth is this. The desires to be connected are the ones that were put there on purpose in your soul. These things show you the way your life is supposed to go. These things are hints about your reason. They show what your calling is. They offer you hints about what is possible. Your heart doesn't want random things. Your soul no longer wants false things. The wants that don't go away. Those that you can't shut up no matter how hard you try. Those goals are calls to action. There are calls for expansion. These are invitations to strive for improvement. Invitations to get in line. Calls to show courage. Brings you into the future I've been preparing you for. Because desire makes you weak. You've been afraid to say what you need. It shows what you want. It makes you hungry. It keeps your spirit going. Risk, on the other hand, is not vulnerability. Vulnerability is a fact, and changing starts in the real world. As soon as you hand off what you need, you enter the realm where chance can discover you. You make a change that brings you closer to the way of life that has been calling you. Listen to me. Name your dreams. Don't be afraid to name them. You can call them without shame. Don't be afraid to call them. What you want doesn't always happen by chance. It is very holy. It's a long way. It is the future talking to you through your heart from far away. You are entitled to need things. You can pray for more than that. You can have another dream now. As soon as you add preference, the path to success will start to appear right in front of you. Every day, every grade, every moment, every fact after another fact adds to your journey. Let me talk right away about the doubt that has been stopping you for years. You've been living as if you're waiting for permission. You have the permission to start, try, change, grow, talk, rest, take in space, and be fully yourself. You've been looking for a sign, for support, for reassurance, for truth, for someone to tell you that yes, now is the time, yes, you deserve this, yes, you have what it takes. But listen to me now in this voice that sounds like God and cuts through all of your excuses. You are now free to start. You don't need everyone's approval to move on to the next part of your life. You don't need help from other people to become the person you believe you are called to be. You should not seek approval from individuals who are unfamiliar with the content of your course. You've been waiting for permission because life has taught you to look for approval before taking action. You were very effective at making sure you never failed. You take on the fear of letting other people down. You learn how to get permission before you do something. In the middle of all that, you agree that other people knew more about your future than you did. You, however, are the only one who can carry your calling. No one else can feel what's going on inside you. The voice inside you is the only one who can hear it. No one else has been on the same adventure as you. No one else can seize your goal. Ready has become well known. Ready has calmed down. Being ready has become a way to protect yourself. But waiting has also turned out to be the thing that is killing your boom. The course ahead of you won't tell you anything until you start walking. Reading will not be clear until you take the first step. Electricity won't go up until you move. Now doors won't open until you reach them. You're not ready for real life yet. Existence is ready for you. You watched. You need more training, but each season you made it through has already prepared you. It was pointed out that you need to know everything, but beginnings don't come with full plans. You think you studied enough to not be afraid, but courage is born when you act, not when you wait. You say you want a guarantee, but this is the only promise you've ever really wanted. You have help, direction, and success. Listen to me again. You are free to begin. Start. Start even if you're shaking. Start even if you're not certain. Start even if you don't think you're ready. Your future doesn't always expect everything to be perfect, even if you don't know how it will end. It's ready for your yes. Allow me to shed some light on something you completely got wrong. You have to believe that trade has to come from somewhere else. It's been on your mind that things will change, chances will come up, people will treat you differently, prices will go up, timing will be perfect, and life will become easier before you change. You told yourself, when things get better, I'll trade. Or when everything calms down, I'll step into my purpose. But listen to this voice that sounds like God and sees much deeper than your circumstances. When you change, it starts inside you, not on the outside. The change you've been looking forward to has already begun to grow inside you. You feel restless, but it's not because something is wrong with your life. It's because your soul is changing. You're unhappy not because you lack thankfulness, but because you've grown up and outgrown old versions of yourself. You desire additional, not due to a lack of resources, rather, because your potential is expanding. You are experiencing pain not due to failure, but because you are relinquishing layers that do not belong to you. You keep looking outside in the hopes that something will provide you the push you need to take the next step. But the step forward is already happening inside you, in your mind, in your instincts, in your emotional strength, in your obstacles, in your awareness, in your courage, and in the parts of you that can awaken and stress you out with the truth. There is no change that you are looking for. Transformation is ready for us to see it. You've been changed more than you think. You have more awareness now than you did before. Because you want readability over worry, you're making choices. You're noticing styles you didn't pay attention to before. You have a better idea of how much you're worth now. That's the warning sign you're seeing, Sudha. If you could have anything, it would be peace. You care more about being real than getting approval. You've chosen alignment over familiarity. These changes aren't small. These are indications that you are undergoing an internal transformation. External trade will follow the changes inside. Opportunities will match the level of readability. After an identity is healed, relationships will follow. Alignment will lead to breakthrough. There will be provision after reason. An increase in readiness will occur. What you think you're missing on the outside is probably just waiting for your inner world to fully embrace the change that has already begun. You would rather not be excited about how things will change. You are changing your life. You don't need to look for swaps. You are getting something in return. Everything that you are doing starts with the change that has been slowly, steadily, and firmly happening inside you the whole time. Pay close attention to what I say with an open heart. At your core, you've thought that you are too damaged, too scarred, too flawed, too late, too hurt, too complicated, too uncertain, and too worn down by life to have any meaningful impact on what happens next. You've looked at your past, and it's supposed to disqualify you. You looked at your mistakes and thought they ruined your chances of success. You thought that your pain made you useless because of it. But listen to me in this voice, which sounds like the voice of God and is full of authority, tenderness, and unwavering intention. These are the very things that you thought disqualified you, that I am using to bring you together. You're not badly hurt. The story that made you who you are is a glorious work of art. The hurts you've been through have made you kind. Your problems have made you strong. You understand better now that you've lost something. Your broken hearts have taught you things. Your mistakes have made you humble. Your pain has complicated you. All of this stuff is not a liability. They might be gear. They might be getting ready. They could be improved. These things shape a person who has lived, learned, survived, grown, and changed. People who have never been through a struggle cannot lead. No one can heal someone else if they haven't hurt them. People who have never cried can't understand how sad someone else is. You have lived through things that have carved layers into your spirit, and the layers of people are what get you ready for an extra call. You're not a broken vessel. You are one who is stronger. You are still eligible. You've grown up. You're not broken. You are healed. Every part of your story has been getting you ready for effect, motive, influence, meaning, growth, and so on. There was no waste. Nothing happened by accident. Nothing was damaged too badly to be fixed. You have been unsure about your future, believing that you lack the necessary skills. But I'm telling you, you're exactly who you want to be for what's to come. You're not perfect, clean, or scar-free, but you're exceptional and unique in ways that the world can't measure. As this last message factor arrives, please pay attention to what I have to say. Something extra is being planned for you. We are planning for you more than what you lost, more than what you hoped for, more than what you thought was possible, and more than what you expected. The fact that you were broken didn't end your story. It gave you permission to move on to the next chapter. Yes,